News from over the weekend for the Buffalo Sabres. Two players are heading to arbitration. Defensemen Bowen Byram and Connor Timmins. For more on this, Paul Hamilton does have a piece up at our website, WGR550.com. But an important note for Byram, he can now not be offer sheeted. Nice day today for Bills running back James Cook. The NFL's top 100 list continues to roll out for 2024, and today saw Cook get slotted in at number 89 overall, while ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, he has started his top 10 position series, sees him talk to 70-plus coaches, executive, and scouts to help build this list, and Cook came in at number 8 overall for the running backs. We'll get more on the Bills. Training camp at St. John Fisher will get underway this month, July 23rd. MLB All-Star rosters were announced over the weekend. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Aaron Judge made the starting lineup for the American League. For Guerrero, it's his 5th All-Star selection of his career, and Judge his 7th. While for the National League, Francisco Lindor makes the starting lineup, his 5th All-Star appearance of his career. And the pitching rotation, it was announced last week. Max Fried of the Yankees was selected as one of the starters, his 3rd All-Star appearance. And next week, it'll be the All-Star game next Tuesday the 15th. Tonight, though, the Jays taking their white-hot 8-game win streak into Chicago to take on the White Sox just after 7:40. The Yanks and Mets have off tonight. They'll be back in action tomorrow night, and that also includes the Bisons, who have off today. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp.
It's nothing you did.
It's not you, it's me.
It's not you. It's you, but you didn't cross me.
And the Bulldog.
Why did I choose? Why did I just stay in school?
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Hi, everyone. You'll be excited to know, not really, that I have been perusing projections today.
Perusing projections?
Yes.
I like that.
That could be a store.
Yes.
Or a
team name.
A business, a team. Well, I mean, One Track Mind over there.
Well, I need names. I need names for all these fantasy teams of mine.
You need name for all these fantasy team of mine. You mean? Yes. I'm always open, as are you, to suggestions. Perusing projections. Starting with James Cook. It wasn't even that he made this list that people care about. It was more just like 3-day weekend. I know we're not to training camp yet, but it's a little bit closer. And what's going to happen there? Like, we still don't really know. There's been no step forward or back in terms of Cook. Like, he showed up for the mini camp, so there wasn't any sort of drama there other than like his actually showing up, which was mostly unexpected. And like, there isn't a contract either. When they left minicamp, I think the general consensus was anything could still happen here. Like, he could get a deal, he could not, he could show up, he could not for training camp. There's really no answer.
That's right. And look, things could change. Maybe how he talked about what he would do come summertime, come training camp, because he did indicate he would be here. I don't think he unequivocally said he would definitely be participating, but I think he said he'd be here. But that could have been said back in, a few weeks ago with the expectation that something was going to happen between now and then. And if that doesn't happen, then, maybe anything could be back on the table. But like, as we start this week and begin the march through these couple of weeks between now and when training camp actually begins, I'd bet on him being here. I think the question will be at what level is he here? Is he holding in? Is he participating fully? What's his role here? But I would bet on him being here. Again, I don't have to be right about that. Something could change in his mind that he had some expectation, that hasn't happened yet between the Bills, mostly them coming to the table with maybe what he would consider a new, more respectful contract offer. But I'm betting. I bet right now I would bet on him being here. But I don't know that I'd want to put my name on he'll definitely be participating or not.
Do you think he texted Brandon Beane as soon as the news came out? He was on that list. Just a sort of a, did you know about this? I want to make sure you knew about this. The Bills' social media people did.
Yeah,
they tweeted about it. So, just want maybe Cook in his way. That's not really fair. Is there some way to use an eyeball emoji here to
Did he do? I didn't know.
I don't know.
I don't think he. I didn't see any evidence that he
No, not
was
either.
out there on the mean social media streets, quote tweeting or setting any sort of an agenda for us to interpret. I didn't catch any of that.
Is being in the top 100 players leverage? Can that be a real question? Is that worth asking? Is it leverage to make this list? Might be.
It could be something that could be brought up by the players' side and maybe summarily dismissed by the team. Great. Thanks for telling me.
Wonder what the average annual salary of players on this list will be, though. I think Cook would take it. Whatever that number is, I bet he would take it. You're going to have veterans.
Lowest salary, you mean?
Average.
Average, I see.
You're going to have 10 quarterbacks
yeah,
who are making $40 million a year.
Right.
You know, guys around him, established edge rushers, offensive linemen who have got corners who have gotten paid. He'd probably take the average dollar from this list.
Yeah.
Not that it'll work like that.
Yeah. I would bet it would exceed what he's even asking for, maybe in the end.
I still think, what we talk about what hasn't changed. Like there's been no official development here in either direction on this. I still think, speaking of things that have not changed, there's a chance that the Bills, and you've said this more often than I have, that the Bills really don't see him, Cook being worth that much. They always say how much they love him. They can still love him.
Mm-hmm.
They can still understand and appreciate the career he's had so far, the season he's coming off of, everything. But he's still never going to be on the field on third down, right? Like Ty Johnson is going to be that running back. Right. The Bills do not need him. He's not a bell cow, anything close.
He's not good. He's not good at one aspect of being on the field on third down. And so we got a team that's trying to win the Super Bowl, and they're going to put the guy out there that's better at pass protection if called upon.
So he's closer to a committee back than he is like a full-time three-down Barkley-esque kind of player. And, even from the first day when Bean called him a sub back, he starts now, but he gets subbed now. Instead of being the sub, he gets subbed.
Right.
So that hasn't really changed. The Bills could still, just pragmatically be like, this is kind of what it is. We're not going to why would they do that? Why would they change his role? He's not huge. They don't probably want him to play too much of a role, too many snaps for that, like it's been already.
Yeah.
I've said how many times about going into last year and the philosophy, the identity they established the previous year. Why would they change that? It was successful. Same now. Why would the Bills go into 2025 thinking that they have to be different offensively? They're going to try to be the same team, I think. And the personnel is largely the same. That includes 100% their backfield.
Right.
So here's what we want you to do. We've already shown you, everyone, what our vision is, our plan is for you. It's not going to be different. He's a year older, but he's still not old. So it's not going to be different.
Yeah.
What's that worth?
I don't see that changing at all. In fact, I might posit that if there's going to be any change in snap share there, I would think he'd be on the losing end of it. That Ray Davis going into a second year might, the Bills might, in their own self-interest, might want to see what that looks like with a bigger role. And Ty Johnson was fantastic as the third down guy. I think that's your role, so I don't know that necessarily changes and eats into. But I guess I'm into Cook. But I could see a scenario where just, 3, 4, 5% change, like favoring Davis as opposed to Cook, just with the overall in mind. Yeah, and that includes a scenario where Cook has not gotten a contract extension. I think that could happen either way. If they found a number that is equitable, and because I'm sure the Bills would prefer to have the player be fully satisfied, or at least most of the way to satisfied for the season. But I also don't think they're going to do something that they don't believe in along the way. But even if they got somewhere with Cook on an agreement for 3 or 4 years, I could still see a scene where they're, let's make sure we're giving Davis opportunity here. He's Well, he's newer, but not exactly younger by any. Right? Is he?
He's less than a year younger.
Right.
I think.
Even though they're separated by 3 drafts. Or two drafts, yeah, sorry. And I could just see them wanting to see what they have in him, preparing for the future. So it is more if they don't get something done with Cook, I suppose, than if they were to.
He's 6 weeks younger.
Okay.
Davis.
All right.
So that is less than a year. I was not wrong.
Right.
But it's only 6 weeks.
Yeah.
They'll both be 26 during the season.
So it's not, I don't think it's ideal. But I've thought all along here that the scenario I would bet on is him coming in and playing out the year. Again, the motivation for the Bills is there from keep everybody, satisfied, sort of keep the train moving. We don't need anyone thinking about hopping off because they're unhappy with their situation. You don't need that sort of filtering through the team in any way, shape, or form. But if the money just does not match, like if he doesn't want your $10 million a year because he wants 15, then I don't really know what else you're supposed to do other than cave into him, which I don't see them doing. And so I don't know. My favored scenario is the one I'm describing. This is what I've wanted the Bills to do all along, and I think we're trending that way.
And you still don't think it's too risky?
No, I don't. I think it happens. Guys play out their contracts all the time. So I don't think it has to be risky. I think the player should still be motivated to do his level best for himself and his teammates. Like those things can intersect all you want. It's in his interest to have as good a year as he can have and then become a free agent. And, maybe it's a story that Bills' number 1 running back, James Cook, leaves team after Super Bowl win or something, but whatever. That's a chance.
You would take that?
That's a chance I think you got to be willing to take.
803-0550. Would you take the Bills win the Super Bowl, but James Cook leaves in 2026? That'd be a fun poll. Because that's the kind of poll I would vote no to, just to be me. And I feel like half the people on Twitter would do that. It'd come in like 50-50.
Right.
Would you take a Super Bowl win if it meant losing Cook? Would you take a Super Bowl win if it meant losing Allen? Would be a good one. But anyway, I still also, among other things that have not changed in this, I still don't think the Bills will take that chance. And somehow we'll figure out a way to accommodate him that he will agree to. And that's years. You can look at running back so coldly that even the very best guys, we don't care if you're on the team next year at all. We'll just get somebody different and we'll block and they'll be good too. I mean, that's the coldest way you can do it. And I think that can be reasonable. But I think a team like this would always prefer not to do that. I mean, they like Cook. They love him. They insist upon it. They constantly tell. It's like they feel like it's mandatory to tell us how much they love Jimbo, right? So I think they will probably do that. He just has to go along. Like they're not going to give him anything he wants. So he has to accept it. And even his coming to minicamp adds for me to the assumption that they will make an agreement. But that could be wrong. 803-0550, what happens with Cook? So projections, haven't even gotten to them yet.
Perusing.
I was perusing projections, and Mike Clay is my number 1 when it comes to projections for stats.
Familiar.
ESPN's Mike Clay. And I think you'll be impressed by this. Cook, 264 carries. Last year he had 207. 1,231 yards. That'd be a career high by like 100. And 12 rushing touchdowns. Wow, right?
Yeah.
12.
Yeah.
Playing less than half the snaps. I don't know that Mike thinks that. I don't have a snap projection from him. He doesn't. I mean, he can't do it all. Nobody can do everything.
Right.
So there isn't a snap share here, I think. But 12, 31, and 12 on the ground, and then 285 and 2 on 37 catches. That's close to last year. Last year had 32 receptions, and it's very close to last year. I mean, easily a season you would take.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, not accounting for injuries.
To back up 16 touchdowns with 12, and then what is it, 2 more receiving to go along with it? Yeah, I mean, that is a season you should sign for right away. I'm not sure where I would expect the extra 60 or so carries to come from there, or 57, whatever the number was, more than last year's. But, that could happen. What do we talk? It's, a couple of carries a game. And he did miss one entire game last year, right? Cook, he missed the
Jet
game.
road game.
Right.
Yeah, where do they come from in these stats? Because they don't come from Allen. 114 for Allen. Last year had 102. Davis, 113 last year. On here, 106. It comes from either more plays run or fewer passes. I don't know. I have to look into that. Because Mike, I mean, you can tell by the specificity, I think, of these numbers. He's not fooling around.
Right.
Like, it's not just
those aren't
throwing it at
ballparks.
the wall.
Right.
So.
Well, I mean, that's a year you'd have to be happy with, regardless of the contract. Maybe that's a year that would slow down the folks like me who are so quick to dismiss the idea of keeping him around, because it's sustainability on the touchdowns and growth. Really, whatever. It's more yards. It's a couple hundred more yards. So that is growth. And I would consider 12 touchdowns on the heels of 16 still, like, that would be very good. Kind of to the extent that you might think, oh, maybe I should have signed him. The price is just going up and up and up. And I wonder, like, that's where Cook and what his mindset is could play a part in this. Because if he has that year, then the price does go up for anyone who wants to sign him on the open market, I think, and that would include the Bills. And maybe that's a scenario where you should have just made the best deal you could here, but if Cook bets on himself and puts that year up, he should waltz into free agency ready to become a very highly paid dude, I would think, if he has that kind of year.
I wonder what that even looks like. Is that $15 million? No. Not in my opinion. Could be, but no. That's what's interesting about it. Many things about it are interesting. That season that's probably another Pro Bowl. Mm-hmm. Maybe the Bills are in the playoffs again. I mean, they probably will be. Make a run. And now you've got a guy that has performed over 1,000. If this exact line happens, over 1,000 yards 3 straight years. Is only 26 next offseason.
Backed up a monster touchdown season with another very strong touchdown season.
Right. Now we're at, this would be exactly 32 over 2 years, 28 rushing touchdowns over 2 years, which very well could lead the NFL. And then he goes to free agency, and much the same as the Bills conversation, I think, it's, all right, now what? What is he? I mean, could you see somebody paying him like the Eagles and Ravens paid their guys? I could not. He's not going to play that much. Mm-hmm. He doesn't do that. So what's that worth in free agency? This is where I think, maybe why, I don't know. I don't think we're different on this, but I was going to say maybe why I think the Bills will, make a deal with him is this, from Cook's standpoint. Is that even if he puts down that year, and this doesn't have fumbles in it or anything, but last year he fumbled once. Like, even if he puts down probably about the best case scenario season and goes to free agency off those 2 years put together at 26 years old, what then? I mean, maybe some terrible team.
That's what I'm thinking.
Incredible, and
the Drought Bills might sign that running back for
Bills.
3 years for $45 million, and there's your AAV, and okay, there it is.
The Drought Bills totally would sign James Cook to a long-term deal. Yes, but you shouldn't.
No, but
it's not a compliment when Bulldog says that.
No, it's certainly not.
It's not a compliment.
Yeah,
some team would pay him. I mean, numbers always go up, too.
Right.
It's just not that different. Like, Cook, the Bills should think, I'm not in the room, of course, but they should think a $10 million per year-ish offer is good enough for this player. They should think that. And if they're wrong, he's nuts.
I think it's very likely that they do think that, and thus no extension yet, because he wants more than that. He's not found his way to settling for that figure yet. I'm just guessing at that, but
You think the Bills would pay him that, and I do.
Yeah, I do. I think they would pay him 10. Yeah. I wouldn't love it, but I also wouldn't want to burn stuff about it. It just wouldn't be optimal.
3 years.
But I recognize that it's also not optimal to lose a player at peak or close to peak. Like, again, if he doubles down on last year and has the year that Mike Clay of ESPN is projecting for him, it's going to be harder to make the case that you shouldn't have paid him. I mean, obviously, it's just because he's duplicated. A part of not wanting to jump in with both feet on this idea has been you're buying at an all-time high here, 16 touchdowns last year. It's just, I doubt that is sustainable, but 12 would come awful close to that, and I think it would get harder to make my argument. Not saying it can't be done, but I think it gets harder. And another year goes by where he does that, and emotionally we get more attached to him too, because he's good, their offense is good, and he's scoring all the time. And it just his presence kind of grows, and you start to feel a little like, I'm really gonna miss him. And the other shoulder, but he's a running back. It's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
It'll all work out.
12 rushing touchdowns for 2025 from these projections. 10 players only had that many in 2024, including Cook and Allen, by the way. I mean, is that a record? 2 guys on one team combining for 28 rushing touchdowns in a season. I know it's 17 games now, but you think that's happened before? Like a Franco and Rocky Blyer kind of thing, or something? Where
the Dolphins guys or something in the 70s, maybe. I don't know.
I wonder, 28 rushing touchdowns between 2 players. The Bills, it was talked about how they ran for 30. That number that they got to in that game in New England was like a cool thing. 30 passing, 30 rushing. But the fact that 2 guys alone were 28 of the 30, that's crazy. I mean, not crazy, but yeah, that's what I'm saying is, if it's like last year, that's top 10 in the league.
Right.
And with all of these things with Cook, I'm always sort of hoping to find out what would happen. Like I was a little bit, honestly, a little bit bummed that he showed up for minicamp because I wanted to see, where it was headed.
Where does it go from here?
And it doesn't have to be any different that he did. Mm-hmm. That's kind of how it felt to me. He came to minicamp saying, I like money. I didn't want to get fined, so I'm here. And you don't really do anything at minicamp. So you're not going to lose a lot of weight at minicamp.
Probably not.
I'm pretty sure you're not going to be exhausted, So you might as well show up and not pay $40,000 a day in fines.
It seems reasonable enough. Yeah.
It does. Cook, 16 last year, tied for the league lead with Derrick Henry and Jahmyr Gibbs. And he did it on 118 fewer rushes than Henry. And 900 some fewer yards, by the way. So very efficient. Peak efficiency in terms of touchdown rushes last year. And Gibbs, by the way, I just found a team where 2 guys ran for 28 touchdowns. Last year's Lions.
Right.
Gibbs and Montgomery did it, 16 and 12. Wait, 27. Hurts and Barkley. How about that? 10 guys last year, 12 or more rushing touchdowns, and there are 3 pairs of teammates. If Lamar Jackson never ran for touchdowns, there'd be 4, but he doesn't run around the goal line that often, and Henry had all of it. Bills, Lions, Eagles had teammates that ran for 27 or more touchdowns in one season last year. So we didn't need Franco Harris.
No.
To find another team.
Let me check my notes, too, last season.
Has that ever happened before? Yes, Mike.
3 times.
Last year, it's right in front of you. It's right here on the screen. I can see it. 803-0550.
Time for a little more perusing.
I didn't do enough perusing. That's right. That's exactly right. I mentioned the Ravens. We'll talk about the Ravens. Jeremy Kahn, our friend from Baltimore Radio, will join us next hour. If you were listening to our last show on Thursday, it was kind of a little bit of a Mike Francesa funhouse day on the phones. A guy called up about Willie McCovey and another guy about whether the Bills should play the Hamilton Tiger Cats. It was sort of a little bit random on Thursday.
That happened, yeah.
That day, I looked up the McCovey thing, which most of you right now are like, what's that? And I meant to mention it, but didn't. It's awesome. I'll explain in a minute. I've been so excited all day to mention this Willie McCovey thing.
Okay.
It was the thing when I got here today that I wanted to tell you, but didn't.
Okay. All right.
I'm saving it. Lines are open for your calls. James Cook and other Bill stuff we'll get to throughout the day. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, thanks for listening. This is WGR.
To be valued as that, and all the hard work that we put in and on the ground and pass blocking and all those type of things, and I think we should be valued more.
James Cook back at minicamp. Running backs do matter. You could describe that as.
He wants running backs to matter.
They matter in his opinion. They matter.
Yeah. I feel him. It's a tough spot to be in. They are not valued like I think they should be. It's too replaceable, and that's how it goes. So I've always felt some level of sympathy for any of these guys that we're talking about, whether they're Bills guys or not, like Le'Veon Bell going all the way back to that. Yeah, he wants to be paid like a great receiver's being paid. Well, problem is you're not a great receiver. You're a great running back. And I got a guy over here from William and Mary who can probably do the job 90% as well as you.
Just a random school name?
Just a dude. I just needed a small school.
Ish, yeah.
I was thinking of Fred Jackson.
Fred Jackson, Co-College. Marv Levy, Co-College.
Right.
Sean McDermott, William and Mary.
Right.
Mark Kelso, William and Mary. Mike Tomlin. That'd be a good like if we were the Levitard show. We could put a poll up. Did you feel sorry for Le'Veon Bell? Like Bulldog. Did you feel sorry? Yes or no? He had a beauty the other day. I feel like we invented the genre. When Joe was here, we were constantly putting up these nonsense polls.
Okay.
I think he amused himself with that. And now Levitard, I obviously didn't probably get that from us, but he had one about an umpire. There were two about umpires. One was they're not allowed to go to casinos, but are they allowed to walk through the casino to get to the buffet? Mm-hmm. Like your kids. Have you been to a casino with your kids? And they're not allowed on the floor, but you're still walking. You're pretty close. You're pretty much on the floor. Like you're walking through there to the hotel area where people are gambling.
Just making sure they don't look at any of the slot machines.
They're not allowed to look at anything. Don't look over there. We're just going to, get some eggs. And so there was that. And then there was if an umpire is daydreaming on the field and there's a check swing, does he automatically give the safe sign? Isn't that great?
Yes.
Like if you don't know, don't you just say safe?
Yeah.
No swing?
Right.
If you don't know?
Yes.
I think that one's right. Okay, so what'll happen with Cook? What should happen? 803-0550 if anybody wants to try to predict it. We're still 2.5 weeks away, basically, from 2 and change weeks away from Bill's camp. So it's not like today necessarily anything has to happen. Or then. Who knows? Maybe not. Maybe it won't even happen then.
Right.
While we're projecting, guys, while we're perusing projections, would you care to project the season ahead for one Travis Kelce? Ooh. What kind of year is ahead for Travis Kelce? Everybody talks like basically he's just dead.
It's over, yeah.
And, it's not confusing. He's gotten older. Last year was different. Mm-hmm. And what did he do last year, Kelce?
I have never looked at the stats. I'm going to just ballpark it. 64 catches, 6 touchdowns.
97 catches on 133 targets.
My Lord.
823 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Only 3 touchdowns. That's a lot more volume than I was giving him credit for.
I mean, it's really short now.
Right.
But still, that's 6 catches a game almost, Kelce. And I think about him a lot because of fantasy. He goes like in the 8th round. The guys you need now, I mean, if you're going to be a cool kid, are Bowers or McBride. Like those are the cool kid tight ends. And here's Kelce, and Andrews is right behind him, by the way, who's younger, but still like they're yesterday's tight end ones. Mike Clay on Kelce.
Is it closer to what I just guessed at?
It is.
Okay, all right.
But, would you take these seasons 73 for 705 and 5? That's a drop-off. But it's still fairly productive.
It's Kincaid with 3 more touchdowns. Kincaid's rookie year with 3 more touchdowns is what that is. I think you'd have, at this stage of his career, I think you'd have to be satisfied with that. it's up to them to find something else that is, going to replace some of those targets. And they've got I don't know about a tight end necessarily, but there's pass catchers there, provided Rice is on the field, which it looks more and more like he will be. Health-wise, I know he's fine, but it doesn't look like there's a suspension incoming on that front. And so he and Worthy, and they're going to just have to find someone else to be the guy, because I wouldn't expect him to lead. He led them in targets with that number last year, I imagine.
Easily.
Yeah. I'm going to guess that they're, in their own self-interest, going to start trying to figure out a way forward where he's not leading them in targets.
Worthy had 98 targets. It's a lot.
It's a healthy number.
For a rookie?
Yep.
What was Coleman?
In the 40s, I think? No, it had to be more than that. Hang on, I've got it open here. He had 57 targets, Coleman. So
missed some time.
Not that far off. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
how many games?
He missed
12?
13 games. So, what you maybe get 20 more tops.
For a game?
Yeah.
Worthy was closer to 6 in targets per game last year. Who leads Kansas City in touchdowns scored this year? So for Mike Clay, let's see. Worthy 8, 7 receiving, 1 rushing, jet sweep.
Mm-hmm.
Pacheco 8, 6 and 2. Rice 7. He's not projecting for a suspension. Rice 7. Kelsey 5. Hollywood Brown 5. Hunt 5.
Oh yeah, Kareem Hunt.
Man, that's like 6 guys. It could be any of them. Doesn't even mention Brashard Smith, rookie running back that I like that went to Kansas City. One thing I was going to say before, and it's maybe, obvious, but what the Bills will do with Cook, what do they want to do? I don't know. Is this meaningless? If you say they make this deal we keep coming back to, like 3 for $30, with whatever sort of machinations are built within that, bonuses and guaranteed everything else, $10 million a year for 3 years, something like that. What they can't do then, I think, or it'd be weird if they did, is bring anyone else in ever.
Right.
I thought you were right. You were right in the end. I thought this year they should draft somebody anyway. It's such a good deep running back class. Everybody says, go get your Brashard Smith. Go get your, whoever it is, Scadaboo or somebody like this. Not even that early. That was early 4th.
Yeah.
Not even that early, but somebody just to add to your depth and who you might find, if you will, lightning in a bottle with somebody like this. And if you're paying the running back 10 for 3 years, you're almost as a rule not doing that. You're not.
Right, you're going to keep moving forward with the guys you've got here already. Davis will have still 2 more years on his rookie contract. Johnson, I think, re-upped for 2 years when he re-signed this offseason, so you've got some security there. Yeah, no, you'd be setting your running back room up for the next, I think, 2 seasons at least.
And is that what you want? Like the Eagles didn't draft a running back. Again, not apples to apples, Cook and Barkley, but like they didn't draft. They know so much. They didn't find their way to Brashard Smith or somebody like that in round 7.
I would have been fine with the Bills getting a guy this year. I think the question would have been, is he going to be on our roster? And if he's not, because of what I've got already, Davis and Johnson, who we like Cook still. Are we going to be able to get him through waivers if he's that good? Like, can we stash him? If not, then I'll just do this next year. And there will be probably a need. Maybe next year we'll spend a lot of time talking about first-round running backs again. Oof. Because if this plays out in such a way that Cook they walk him right up to free agency, there is no long-term agreement. He plays out the year, has a fine year. The Bills do whatever they're going to do on the field, win it all or not, but he's a free agent. Then, yeah, I mean, running back is sort of leaps off the page as a need, and then we can all haggle about how early they should do it or not, because it is such a need. And need can be relative. We don't know maybe Ray Davis has some sort of a breakout or something if he gets more opportunity, and you feel pretty good about it, but you're still going to need another. You're going to need another guy. If Cook leaves, you'd need another guy.
How high are you on Davis? I was higher on him a year ago than now.
I'm I'm open to him being their lead running back in 2026 if it comes to that. But I'm also open to there being a better idea.
When I say I was more optimistic for him or excited about him a year ago, I don't mean that in a harsh way. Like, I loved the idea of him into that draft and for the Bills to get him. I'm biased because I liked his story a lot too. Like, I was digging Ray Davis as an idea. And, he was good enough as a Bill, as a rookie. He was good enough, but not. You don't hear me, for all the time we spent on Cook.
Get Cook out of the way.
You don't hear me sort of telling you Davis has to play, right? Like I'm not coming at this from the standpoint like he's undeniable. I think there could have been. I would even guess that there are going to be a couple of, if you will, Bucky Irvings in this draft this year, but they have to get the opportunity. What Bucky Irving did, that could have happened here, where. What was Tampa? They were a playoff team already with Rashad White. Same quarterback, same coach, Liam Cohen. So not the same coordinator. Canales left for Carolina. This is a year ago. And they had a running back in Rashad White who was okay. Like, for me, he's probably not as good as Cook, but I could have put them a year ago in kind of the same category. Guys who can't play full-time. They can help you, but these metrics are just mid and whatever. And they drafted Bucky Irving in maybe the 5th round last year, and he just completely outplayed Rashad White, and they were a playoff team again, and he ended up being like easily their number one guy. And that's what I mean about paying Cook $10 million. Like you close yourself off to that, and maybe you'd want to do that. But what you wouldn't want to have happen, it's almost like it wouldn't be a good problem. It's whatever the opposite of that is, where you'd have an exciting backup that almost looks like he should probably play more, but you've got money, over here,
right?
And you kind of can't do it. I thought this was a year where the Bills should have found their way to whoever their favorite of those running backs was, and. I always want it to be more interesting, and that would have been interesting. They didn't do that. I think Davis is okay, but I wouldn't expect him to be that much better than Cook if he ended up having to play, for a month or something like that. I'd expect it to be about the same, which is another way of looking at all this,
right?
And thinking that Cook just isn't worth the big investment because even Davis is good enough to justify, an important role.
Yeah, I wonder if there's the high end to run away from DBs like Cook had. Really, that developed. Maybe it was just circumstantial. He just was at the right place, right time, right angles, whatever. But he ran away from people last year, and I didn't see him doing that his first 2 years. I don't know that I've seen Davis do any of that yet. So that might be one spot. And that to me is not a deal. You can't be my number 1A running back unless you can run away. I'd like it, but it's not, to me, the most important factor. So, yeah, I'm open to Davis taking over that job, but I would expect them to, if it all happens that Cook leaves after this season, I'd expect months of arguing about how soon to draft one.
Oh, I mean, what's going to be better than that?
Very little.
What's better than arguing about running backs? I mean, the games aren't even always better than that. Oh, it's almost like a reason to just keep eating well. That I can look forward to those days. Bills open the season Sunday night, week 1 against Baltimore. We'll talk about that matchup and the Ravens with Jeremy Kahn coming up in less than 20 minutes. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. I want to go down the rabbit hole.
Welcome back. Hope you had a nice holiday weekend. We were off Friday for the 4th. I do not feel rested at all. I don't know about you, but a lot of driving again this weekend to La Crosse. And, 10 hours there Saturday, 8 yesterday. And I don't mean those are longer than my work shifts.
Yeah.
It's not taxing. It's fun. Sometimes stressful, but it's not sitting on the deck with an iced tea.
It's not relaxing.
It's not relaxing.
No,
it's not relaxing.
No,
that's right.
It's a lot of things that can be rewarding, but it is not rest. Yeah, no.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm good. I guess I'm rested. I don't know. When your birthday falls on a Tuesday and then there's a holiday Friday and like my wife's work, it just sort of, not that we did anything to really have it be this, but it felt like birthday week. Like I felt like a 20-year-old or something. Like, oh, everybody, let's go. And again, there was not a lot of going out anywhere, but I feel a little worn out from birthday week.
Love birthday week.
I need to gather my. I need a little rest.
Okay, so we both are coming off a holiday weekend, needing rest.
Yes. Good.
Thursday show, a guy called up randomly and said he found a Willie McCovey card and an autograph ball. And what do you guys know about Willie McCovey? I'm happy to tell you. So we told this listener what little we know about Willie McCovey.
I like saying his name.
Yeah, right. And I mentioned how the first year I collected cards was 1978. And he has a record breaker card that I thought was at the beginning of the set, and it is. But I had no memory of what the record was. So I looked up this card. And the record, you wouldn't have a guess, right? It's pretty
Put out at
arcane.
first base.
That's a good guess. That's a very good guess. It made me think about how many different things could count as a record that they could actually put into a card.
Foul balls.
Yes. Time scratching himself. I mean, just
Right.
a lot of things could qualify. To that point, this was he became the first player ever to have hit 2 home runs in an inning twice.
Okay.
In 1977, McCovey hit 2 home runs in the 6th inning of a game in June against the Reds. And it was the second time he had done it. And he became the first player ever to do it. So that's the record that Willie McCovey is being honored for on this baseball card in the 78 top set. And he still shares that record. Nobody has done that 3 times.
All right.
5 players now have done it twice, McCovey being the first. 2 home runs in an inning twice. Willie McCovey, Hall of Fame.
All right.
Andre Dawson, the Hawk, Hall of Famer. Jeff King. Remember him maybe from the Pirates?
Yes.
90s Pirates.
Fernando Tatis.
Fernando Tatis.
Isn't it he had 2 grand slams in an inning.
Yes, but that's the only time he hit 2 home runs in an inning.
Oh, so he never did it more than one. Okay, didn't do it more than once. Okay.
Right.
Sorry.
The others are Alex Rodriguez, and both of the Yankees, and Edwin Encarnacion. 5 players have hit 2 home runs in an inning twice, starting with McCovey. The last player to do it was this year in May, Riley Green of the Tigers. Who, by the way, Bulldog, I don't have to tell you this, have the best record in baseball.
Tigers, yep.
How about that?
That is, so they were kind of meh or worse in the first half of last year and then went insane in the second half and are following that up by having the best record in baseball.
They just swept Cleveland. Cleveland's lost at least 10 in a row and are just way back now in that division. Detroit has run away with the Central. Best record in baseball, I think maybe by a game over the Dodgers. Houston is right there. And maybe the Cubs, I don't know. But Toronto. Toronto's on a roll at the White Sox tonight to start a series. Next, Jeremy Kahn will talk about the Ravens and the AFC. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Over the weekend, news came out that 2 players are heading to arbitration for the Buffalo Sabres, defenseman Bo Byram and Connor Timmins. Paul Hamilton does have more on this development up at our website, WGR550.com. But one important note for Byram, with this move, he can no longer be offer sheeted. Nice day for Bills running back James Cook. The NFL Top 100 continues to get rolled out for 2024, and today saw Cook get slotted at number 89 overall. That is his first appearance of his career. And we'll get more on the Bills just a little bit later on this month. Bills training camp from St. John Fisher will get underway on July 23rd. MLB All-Star rosters, they were announced over the weekend. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Aaron Judge make the starting lineup for the American League. For Guerrero, this is his 5th All-Star selection. For Judge, his 7th. And then in the National League, Francisco Lindor makes the starting lineup, his 5th All-Star appearance in his career. And then the pitching rotation. It was announced last week. Max Fried of the Yankees selected as one of the starters, his 3rd All-Star appearance for his career. And the All-Star game, it is next Tuesday the 15th. Tonight, though, the Jays take their white-hot 8-game win streak into Chicago. They take on the White Sox just after 7:40. The Mets and the Yankees have off tonight. They'll be back in action tomorrow. The same is true for the Buffalo Bisons. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
If you wrap foil around that, just like the little bit of the base part of the banana where the fruit is, wrap foil around that top and they will last longer.
You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
Who needs your bananas to last longer, though?
Look, I don't want to go to the store every other day for bananas.
They're 8 cents each.
What the hell are you talking about? What is going on?
You're going to wrap them in foil?
They're better when they're just a little green. Yeah.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Too much work.
Not that much trouble, really.
Too much work.
Says the guy that's got a spreadsheet with 3,000 fantasy teams.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Oh, that reminds me of something. To build a spreadsheet for 3,000 fantasy teams. I need to do that. I start, once in a while, I'll have like downtime. Believe it or not.
From fantasy?
You? No, just in life.
Okay.
And I will, I have in mind to build a spreadsheet with all my exposures and how many shares of Bijan Robinson do I have and so on. But I start and then I quit. I ultimately just don't find it worthwhile to go all the way.
Would it serve any purpose other than being... like having the satisfaction of having all that in one place. That's it, right? You don't need it. Wouldn't make anything about the day-to-day with all these different teams easier.
It could.
It could.
Where it would, in theory, where it would help is I would be able to access, all right, how many shares of so-and-so do I have? And I don't want to have 0 because there's guys I just will never want to pick in a vacuum versus someone else. But I don't want to have 0. And if that's right in front of me,
right.
But, you can just use Underdog or FFPC.
This is another edge that you're letting go.
That's right.
Dig in a little, will you?
I know. I'm saying all this with Jeremy Kahn with us on the Wester Hotline. Jeremy probably, I'm kind of thinking, would not respect this, right? I mean, if you're going to be good at it, you got to price shop, right, Jeremy? You got to fantasy or betting or whatever it is. You can't just sort of stop short.
Of course, I'm a degenerate, so you're going to shop for the best numbers. You're going to do everything you can to try to get an edge, right? So, I've got no problem doing that. It might take a little extra effort, but I think in the end it pays off.
Yeah, that's the problem. See, that's the effort thing is what's in my way. I want to just say up front,
I could do so many great things if I only could try.
If maybe I should just touch some grass instead. Anyway, I sort of try to convince myself of that. I always enjoy when you're on with us, Jeremy. Though I was thinking today, we've kind of had the same conversation a lot.
Aren't the Bills and Ravens kind of the same?
We've kind of had the same. Allen and Jackson, whose debuts came in the same game in Baltimore, a Ravens blowout, and they both were backups and got in. That's 8 years ago now, 8 seasons. And so, they're both probably about halfway through their careers, and they and we together are always asking the same questions, like how will this year be different? So in terms of the Ravens, how will this year be different?
Oh, man. Obviously standing on different sides of the track than you guys, but seeing basically the same outcomes over and over again is kind of frustrating. we're waiting for them to get over the hump. I mean, 2 years ago, I felt like it was a no-brainer that they had the best team in football, and they were ranked in the top 10 offensively and defensively at that point. Last year, I thought they had the best group of guys possible, and then you add Derrick Henry into that mix, and it's like, oh, this is going to be fantastic, and you guys were a part of how that ended. So I think fans still hope they're going to get to the promised land, because it's really become a Super Bowl or bust thing, because nothing else is going to satisfy this fan base unless they finally get it done.
How do you feel about Super Bowl or bust, hosting a show with a fan base that has that mentality? Because here's these mirror images here. It's the Spider-Man meme. That's kind of where we've been for a couple of years now, and I think you got to be careful to not skip the regular season, because a lot of stuff that's pretty cool can happen.
Yeah, no, there's no question about it. I mean, our fan base is just like any other. They're so fickle when it comes to certain things. I've actually thought that some of the football fans have now bled into baseball, and it drives me insane, because they're looking at it in a small view instead of looking at the big picture over 162 games of how things have to go. But look, the fan base has visions of grandeur, and it's interesting since the team's been here in Baltimore. They've won 2 championships, and both of the years were really strange. Like, there was no way they were the best team in football in 2012 when they made that magical run with Flacco and the Mile High Miracle. And when you go back to 2000, they went 5 weeks without scoring a touchdown. So they had the greatest defense of all time. And, I mean, it's the things we talk about. But, like, now you finally have this quarterback that you really want to watch play, and he's one of the most exciting guys in the league. And he's done everything else. It's just, okay, the pinnacle, and go win it.
And there's also, go make it first for both of these teams, at least. And, we had a couple of good conversations in here, Jeremy, where I think we sometimes use make the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl interchangeably. But they're obviously not the same thing. But the Bills and the Ravens both, unlike the Bengals, who did get through the one time, have the Kansas City problem. And so, I don't know, there's not much of a point here, I guess. It's just, wow, one of these teams could make it, and we'd all feel like, maybe not on the inside, but out here we'd feel like that's culmination. They did it. And then they walk and see Philadelphia on the other side, and good luck.
Yeah, well, I feel like, too, our fan bases end up battling with each other, and each one wants to be the one that gets over the hump with Patrick Mahomes and finally knocking off the Chiefs and doing that. And as you said, it was strange watching Burrow do it the one season, and everybody was so excited about it. But Cincinnati, I don't even know if they're going to have 11 guys on defense this year. I mean, that's going to be one of the worst defenses in football. So, it is kind of, as you said, mirror imaging when you look at the two cities and how things go. But I don't like the idea of Super Bowl or bust, but it's like, what else can you do? Right. What else can you show the fan base? I mean, you just had a quarterback that had 41 touchdowns and 4 picks, and it's one of the best seasons we've seen in a long time. And, you ended up on the short end of the stick in a game where neither team punted. I still can't figure out how that happened.
While rushing for 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
By the way.
Hey, man. Yeah.
Yeah, how did that? I mean, speaking of mirror images, Bills-Ravens and then Bills-Chiefs the following week were very similar in how the team that lost, for one way to look at it, is they lost because they couldn't convert on the 2-point play. Like Baltimore 0 for 2 in their game, I think, and the Bills might have been 0 for 2 in theirs, and also lost by, in their case, it was 3, so very close.
How do you feel about that? I mean, because, I don't have a problem. Here in Baltimore, people talk about the team being so analytical, and I think there is a such thing as being too analytical, but analytics aren't stupid. They help you on defense, offense, everywhere. And it's just information, and you decide how you want to use it. But this is a team that's been ultra aggressive on 4th down and 2-point conversions. Sometimes where you're like, I think it'd be a good idea to go up 2 scores here. I don't know if it has to be, 14 points, but whatever. That's sometimes what this aggressive team does, and I don't mind it. But there are situations where you're going, it's time to lay it up there, Cup.
Yeah. In the Ravens case. The first, they were 0 for 2 on the 2-point plays in the playoffs in the game in Buffalo. And the first one was late third. They were down by 2. So that would have been weird, I think, if they don't. But there could have been a debate there. And the other one is, games on the line. You have no choice the second time. But, I can remember the game.
One's one of the worst plays in Baltimore history now, I think, watching him drop maybe the easiest reception of his life.
Andrews. I can remember the game in Pittsburgh. There might have been more than one where they went for 2. It was Sammy Watkins might have caught the touchdown, and they went for 2 and lost.
Oh, yeah, and that's when they went to T.J. Watt's side, and Mark Andrews, again, was wide open, but they tried to lob the ball over Watt, and Watt got a piece of it.
Okay, yep. Jeremy Kahn with us here on the Wester Hotline.
You mentioned the fan base is kind of getting after one another, and we certainly have seen that. And, we've seen positive, too, like donations to Andrews' charity of choice and stuff like that after last year. But the fan bases are at each other. And I think I'm curious for your take on this, Jeremy. Like, for me, I think, and I think a lot of Bills fans do feel this way, like, you don't want – obviously, we're sick of Mahomes winning, and we're ready to see somebody else do it. But, like, for me, I don't want to see Lamar Jackson. I didn't want to see Joe Burrow get a Super Bowl trophy before our guy, before Josh Allen. And Lamar is definitely in that. Is your experience that the fans are sort of using each other against one another, if you know what I mean? Like we're judging the franchises and the quarterbacks on trophies, and we don't want someone to get out ahead of our guy.
Yeah, I think we start these big uproar over like nothing. I mean, there are some times where the fans are pushing back, and it's a small minority of the fan base that starts posting videos and this, and everybody has an opinion, and they got to let you know on social media now. And I think things take off way faster than they ever did. When I first got into radio here, but it is kind of strange to see the mudslinging going on. But maybe there is some of that competitive nature of wanting to be the team that actually does it, that goes in, knocks off Pat Mahomes, and as you pointed out, not only gets to the Super Bowl, but wins it.
With Jeremy Kahn, our guest from 105.7, The Fan in Baltimore. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. So more granularly, what is going to be different about the Ravens this year? I mean, there's always changes to the roster. Both the Bills and the Ravens are always drafting late, so assuming starters from the draft isn't always safe. What do you think might look different about Baltimore?
I mean, the Ravens are bringing back a lot of the same pieces, and I think they've added as well. If you were going to talk about weaknesses on their team, you might look at the interior spot at left guard and figuring out who's going to win that job. I don't know that it actually means they're going to be weak. They just don't know which guy they're going to go with, but that's what you have. They did lose some guys on the end of, if you're looking at some of the interior linemen on the defensive side, as Michael Pierce hung them up, and that was a big body. That's one of those guys you just call a plug, and you guys have had a couple of them up in Buffalo. So they replace him, and then you're trying to work in some of these new guys, because the Ravens have done a great job of drafting and having guys ready when guys leave, and I think you're going to see some new names sliding in there, and Travis Jones might become a household name on the defensive side. And they just added. I mean, if Jair Alexander stays healthy, this defense potentially, it could be the best secondary in football, because you're not only adding that, you get to use Kyle Hamilton how you want, and you just drafted Malachi Starks, who some thought was the best safety in the draft. So, there's high hopes here, but you got to stay healthy, and we've seen that bug bite both of our teams over the years.
Yeah, that secondary seems really impressive here, led by Kyle Hamilton. You mentioned Starks getting added in there. Alexander, a late signing. You've got one of the best nickelbacks in Humphrey. Things look and I'm not even mentioning Nate Wiggins either. Pretty well set up there.
Yeah, everybody in the secondary is a first-round pick. It's insane to think that you have that type of luxury, but every one of them. And the fact that you get Jair Alexander really on the cheap, and it's kind of one of those years where it's like he's got to prove it. If he proves it, maybe you want to pay him, or you want to let somebody else walk. And he and Lamar were teammates. If you remember, while he was doing a draft interview, Lamar got drafted, and he was losing his mind. So we thought there might be a pretty good chance that he was going to come here. And, I mean, he looks ready to go. He's just got to stay healthy. I still think he's got that, top-notch ability to be like a number one and locking down. And you're going to need it in this division, for crying out loud.
I don't remember that. So Alexander, did he go like early second or something that year?
No, he was drafted earlier, and while he was being interviewed on like NFL Network, they were announcing Lamar being drafted, and he jumped up and he started cheering, and they stopped the interview for a second because he was so excited to watch the quarterback get drafted.
Okay. Yep. I remember a lot of things about that night, but not that.
You guys, yeah.
Let's talk about that for a minute more. I'd be interested in knowing like how you remember that. One thing I remember is that morning. It wasn't until like the morning of that draft, 2018, that Mayfield became like he's going to be 101. It was like the day before. It could have been Darnold. It could have been Allen even. And so there was just a lot of drama that year. And we both, here we are again, like similar kind of existences.
I would have been like an idiot if you – I mean, I'll tell you the story because I didn't want him to draft Lamar Jackson. I remember who my favorite player was in that draft. And as we were looking at it, the Ravens had, an early pick in the mid-rounds because they kind of had one of those 500 seasons beforehand or just below it. And they ended up trading back, accumulating a pick, drafting Hayden Hurst, the tight end who's no longer here, and then trading back into the first and taking Lamar Jackson. I was losing my mind because Derwin James was on the board when the Ravens were picking, so I didn't want to hear anything about a Lamar Jackson. And then watching him the first year, I'm going, this dog don't hunt, man. We can't run the option for crying out loud. We're not going to do this, are we? And this is the one thing I've never been happier in saying I was wrong on, that Lamar turned out to be a pretty special player. So, and we go back to the draft night because he always said, as Baltimore fans say, I'm going to get you a Super Bowl, believe that. So they're still waiting for it.
They are. That's true. Here was interesting too. I mean, there was Josh Allen and there was Josh Rosen. And what Bulldog? Like they had a party at the field house at the stadium.
There was booing when the pick was made.
Yeah.
Does that mean they're going to be a good pick when the fans start booing?
I guess so.
Maybe. Well, listen, from that year, maybe this is you and we both will know at least to say this time. You never know, right? It's like whatever pick we don't like that gets made. Hey. Josh Allen, I mean, you never know. So that was quite a year.
How much, if at all, Jeremy, do you guys spend pondering just how much longer you got? Mike mentioned it. Like they're both maybe about halfway through here, right? 8 years in. And you've got guys who are, like, their youth is very pertinent in how they play, right? I mean, I just find it hard to imagine the back halves of these careers, or maybe the back quarter of both of these guys' careers, are going to look that similar from a rushing standpoint as, say, the first quarter of their careers did. Just age comes for everyone eventually. And it is kind of stark when you think about, we're halfway there, just about.
Yeah, and I think, too, like looking at these guys, both of these guys will be able to make that transition. And maybe there was more questions about Lamar early on, and I know people questioned Josh before Diggs showed up, and then he showed everybody he didn't need any of that he's fine without. But when you look at both quarterbacks, I feel like there is something to the extension of their careers and how much they stop running because, when you get into the postseason, I think all bets are off, but they will start to dial it back. The one thing I'll say about Lamar, though, for a guy that runs as much as he does, he does not really take a lot of hits. The worst hits he takes are in the pocket. And, I worry a little bit about Josh because he's so big and strong. I just remember Cam starting to slow down and some of those injuries starting to add up. But, when you look at both of them, anything could go wrong when they're taking off with the football. Maybe they do cut it back at the end of their career.
It's interesting how Lamar Jackson really doesn't run for touchdowns. It's very. It seems like it would be, by the numbers at least, I would want to say a pretty small portion of what they do in the red zone. Maybe would be Jackson, or just in emergency situations.
That beast back there, number 22. Like I don't know what he's doing. He's just going to keep feeding him. But
last year
was kind of that way. And the Ravens have always this is a team that's always had a good run game. People have thought about Baltimore. It's been running and defense for all those years, and then the league opens up the offense, and it's like, why are we sitting back in caveman era when we finally got fire? Let's go see what's happening with this forward pass thing. But they've always had good run games, and then you add in Lamar, and I'm sure you guys feel that same way in Buffalo because for a while there, he was your running back when you guys were going 4 wide in the playoffs. So, Lamar's one of those guys that just adds being out there because of the threat of him running. So it keeps guys on their heels. Sometimes you got to have a spy, and so I do think there's still a benefit of having that guy back there, even in the red zone, if he's not going to be the guy that ends up taking it to the house.
Bills and Ravens Week 1, Sunday night in Orchard Park. Jeremy, quickly before you go, what are your expectations for DeAndre Hopkins there?
I kind of feel like it's going to be a perfect fit because the one thing I've loved about his entire career, he's always played with running quarterbacks, and he's always worked back to the ball. And I feel like a guy like Lamar always creates time. He's not going to be asked to do a lot. He's really filling in the Nelson Aguilar role. So he'll be out there in 3 wides, maybe in some substitution packages as well. And I think you're going to see him play out in the red zone because he still has a high catch radius. And I mean, that whole career, he doesn't drop passes. So I think he's going to fit in well here. It's kind of interesting to have him on the offensive side and add in Jair Alexander on the defensive side. It's like, who's giving out all these players now?
Yeah, right. And Andrews will still be there. There's been varying degrees of trade speculation on him, but are we past that?
Yeah, so everybody thought that was going to happen, that they needed to clear some money up. And obviously, when you looked at it, all of their tight ends were coming up at the same time. And Isaiah Likely is, I mean, the kid's kind of a freak of nature, and he's going to be a name that if you don't know it yet, the rest of the league's going to start to know it. Because I think they're going to pay him and eventually let Andrews walk unless he wants to stay here on a team-friendly deal. So, but yeah, we thought he might get traded. There was talk about the Chargers and some other teams, but ultimately he stayed at home, and they're going to try to make a run with him.
I'll be in Baltimore end of the week. It's an annual trip. My son plays lacrosse, and there's a tournament, actually Bel Air, but there's a tournament this weekend. And last year, I will probably never forget the weekend because it was 100 degrees. 2-3 days in a row, and there's no place to hide at some of these, facilities, right? You're just out in the sun. But great news today, low 80s this weekend where you are, Jeremy. So that went over great at my house.
Yeah, that's good for you because I remember those Father's Day tournaments coming home sunburned. I'm like, this is what I get for Father's Day. And now I'd give anything to have one of those days back. But if you want a couple places to eat, man, shoot me a message, and I can give you some good spots even out in Harford County. I
very well may do that. Thank you, Jeremy.
Sounds good.
Week one, it should be who knows in the end how big a game that'll be, but with all that's at stake, the 1 seed and everything else, it could be very big right away.
Absolutely. It's kind of an interesting one to kick it off with, and tiebreakers are huge. You know what it's going to look like in the AFC.
Very good. Thanks for your time, Jeremy, as always.
Anytime, guys.
Jeremy Kahn, 105.7, The Fan in Baltimore. I do this a lot by mistake. Aged Allen and Jackson by a year. They're going into their 8th years.
Okay.
18 through 24. Right? So this will be each player's year 8. Right.
That's right. He's a year behind McDermott. Yeah, McDermott's going into year 9, Allen year 8.
I do that a lot for some reason. I don't know why. Shouldn't I be able to count?
I suppose, yeah.
Plus, I'm on the reference sites constantly. It says right there 7 years. Yeah. I don't need to guess at it.
Don't have to rush it. Yeah.
Earlier, we were talking about James Cook and how he and Allen combined for 28 rushing touchdowns last year. And I'm like, is that even maybe a record? And then we realized that Detroit also had 2 players combined for 28 rushing touchdowns last year, and Philadelphia had 2 combined for 27. Okay, well, maybe the record's 100 or something. I mean, it's not going to be a record if you didn't even set the season record by yourself. We found a 30.
We?
Yes.
I love getting credit for things I have nothing to do with. I'm in the room.
Well, it wasn't me either.
All right.
But a colleague of ours has found a 30 rushing touchdown season, 2 players. And the Bills ran for 30 last year, but it was the 2 guys combining for 28. This team ran for 32, and 2 players combined for 30 of the 32. So similar.
All right.
In a sense. It's not similar in another sense, and I'll tell you who it is and why when we come back. If you have an opinion, a guess with Cook, as we talked about lot first hour, the Ravens there, the Bills, and all of it. 803-0550 is how to reach us. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog back after sports here on WGR.
Two players are heading to arbitration for the Buffalo Sabres, defenseman Bo Byram and defenseman Connor Timmins. Paul Hamilton does have more on this up at our website, WGR550.com. But an important note for Byram. With this move, Byram cannot be offer sheeted. MLB All-Star rosters, they were announced over the weekend. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Aaron Judge did make the starting lineup for the American League. For Guerrero, this is his 5th All-Star selection for his career. For Judge, it's his 7th. And then in the National League, Francisco Lindor, he makes the starting lineup, his 5th All-Star appearance in his career. And then the pitching rotation, that was announced last week. Max Fried of the Yankees, he was selected as one of the starters, his 3rd All-Star appearance. And All-Star Week is next week, Tuesday. The 15th is the All-Star Game. Tonight, though, the Jays take their white-hot 8-game win streak into Chicago. They take on the White Sox just after 7:40. The Yankees and the Mets, they have off tonight. They're going to be back in action tomorrow. Same holds true for the Buffalo Bisons. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
The Ravens have done a great job of drafting and having guys ready when guys leave, and I think you're going to see some new names sliding in there, and Travis Jones might become a household name. And they just added. I mean, if Jair Alexander stays healthy, this defense potentially, it could be the best secondary in football because you're not only adding that, you get to use Kyle Hamilton how you want, and you just drafted Malachi Starks, who some thought was the best safety in the draft. So, yeah, there's high hopes here, but you got to stay healthy, and we've seen that bug bite both of our teams over the years.
Our guest from Baltimore just before, Jeremy Kahn. Ravens looking pretty stacked in the back of their defense. Do we have prop lines yet on that game? Like how many yards passing for Allen against Baltimore? Too soon?
I haven't gone looking. I don't know.
You haven't gone looking. That's funny.
Yeah, no.
I believe that.
No. I don't even have my stupid, division winner parlay.
Oh, want to work on that?
In yet. Sure.
What are you doing at 5?
I think I'm going to be hanging out, talking on the radio.
Let's do that at 5.
All right.
I don't have anything written down for 5.
All right.
I mean, other than what we've talked about already, it's literally blank. 5, space, all the way across. 5:30, covered. Got it. 5:50, well, we already did that, but I'll just flip a couple things. 5.
Anything goes.
Absolute clean slate here. I should be better at this, where I'd have something written down for every time of the show.
Right.
I'll get you what I have for 4:30 here in a minute, because it is 4:30. First, let's talk to Roger. Hi, Roger.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Good. Thanks, Roger.
Good. I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on a few things, especially considering the defensive line down the stretch. You get a lot of promises. We have to hear all these great stats. You get the Epinesa first player, 6 sacks a season for 5 straight seasons. You got the constant growth of Greg Rousseau. But who's going to be that closer, guys? Who's going to be your Mariano Rivera in the postseason? Get that crucial sack, fourth quarter, everybody's tired, 2 minutes left. Who's going to be that guy for us this year?
I think you got to hope that's why they signed Joey Bosa.
Good luck, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how likely that is, but that's what I think they're doing. I think he's Von Miller, only a little younger when he got here. But same, injury questions, smaller commitment than what you did with Bill Miller was a massive swing that obviously never really paid off because of injury. And I think Bosa hopefully isn't a repeat of the same thing. But that's why he's here, I think. And, whether it's specifically the playoffs or just the fourth quarter of games at all, I think that's a guy you're looking for to be, if not the answer, a part of the answer to that question.
Which is why I'm not completely unserious when I suggest he should not play in the regular season at all. Roger, it's always interesting to hear a fan's perspective like yours on this point, because I don't usually think of it this way. But it's not wrong to. all the times I want to tell you how the quarterbacks have control over those situations, Chris Jones exists. Like he has been a problem for the Bills in this way when it's mattered the most. And the Bills have a good offensive line, and he still has gotten it done. So I don't want to have it both ways, but I do think the idea that somebody on the Bills' defensive line is just going to be able to control a game like it's the 80s or something, not against these quarterbacks, not against Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes or even Burrow. I mean, Burrow carved the Bills up in his one playoff opportunity too. And, sure, you'd like to have one of these guys just be dominant.
Right.
I don't think they have that player. So, and I don't entirely blame them for it because of the other point, because of the quarterback, the prowess of the quarterbacks and the control that they and the offenses have over games. This is where I am is much less about who is going to be that star in these games than, oh my God, why do the Bills continue to pour so much effort into finding that guy? Because, I don't know, I'll believe it when I see it, that they have somebody who can wreck Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game. They can't get him off the field. Like, that's
right.
It's relative.
The closest we got to it was the regular season game in Miller's first year there. They played in KC, and he had stops in the fourth quarter. Like pressure led to an incompletion. There's a sack. He was exactly that in a regular season game before he got hurt, and then he got hurt, and that was it. And other than him, these certain guys on this team have taken turns. They've been here long enough. Rousseau's made plays against the Chiefs, batted ball. Epinesa, same thing. They've had their moments, but it has not been, at the end when they're really. They haven't been in a situation where 13 seconds happened, but these other games, it's the Bills with the ball and it's Chris Jones ruining it for the Bills and for Josh Allen. To some extent, or Spagnuolo more so just sort of as the overseer of the defense, calling, just the right play at the right moment there last year in the game.
That's right.
You haven't even had a situation where the Bills haven't gotten that go-ahead score and then had to sit tight for however long, 40 seconds, a minute and a half, 13 seconds, since really then. Against this team anyway, where you're looking for someone to do the thing. It's 3rd and 6. Where's my guy? Where's my play call? And where's my guy that's just going to be unblockable? We haven't even had the scenario against that team in a while. I mean, let's hope we get there. But you got to score to go ahead of this team.
When I think about this, too, I never look this up, but how many times did the Bills get Kansas City into 3rd and long, right? I mean, Chris Jones, the game in Buffalo, we're thinking about the 3rd down play when he beats Dawkins and Allen has to roll right and basically throw the ball away.
That is second. Well, okay.
You're thinking about second down.
Second down is he pushes Dawkins into Allen, and that affects the throw to Shakir in the end zone. And then 3rd down, I don't remember who blows it up, but if it's Jones, fine.
The second down play then, high bar. But to me, that always was an Allen mistake, that play. Right? There's truth to Mahomes and Allen and Jackson and these guys being so elite that you can only do so much. I think I've always thought of that play as an Allen mistake. He's got Diggs open easily underneath and you want to bleed clock if you can. That's where the ball should go. So instead, he waits for the kill shot, which is still there's still 2 minutes left in the game, and gets hit. So, does Mahomes, it's not even the question I want to ask. Does Mahomes get hit on that play? It's not. That's a little unfair, but it's just, there is that too.
Mm-hmm.
There's what happened at the end in Kansas City. There's what happened there. We don't have that for 13 seconds because Allen was spectacular right to the end, or almost the end.
Right.
Almost the end.
Just couldn't bleed out those final 13 seconds.
Yeah, we've said that too many times. The touchdown pass to Davis was just too early.
Right.
You got to be better than that. Come on, 13 seconds. This is too early.
Sorry, everyone.
Different subject.
Good. All right, what did you have written down at 4:30? Sorry if that's not this.
That's what I'm gonna tell you. So last year, Cook and Allen combined 28 rushing touchdowns. Is that the record? No, for 2 players. because in what year? 2004? 2006. LaDainian Tomlinson and Michael Turner combined for 30.
With the Jets?
With the Chargers.
The Chargers, sorry. I thought, were they not together on the Jets too?
Turner went to Atlanta.
Okay, sorry.
I think.
Anyway, go ahead.
2006, LaDainian Tomlinson and Michael Turner combined for 30 rushing touchdowns. Tomlinson had 28 himself.
Good job, Turner.
And Turner had 2.
28 rushing touchdowns.
Yes. You wanted him in your fantasy league.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess so.
Single season touchdown records. He had 3 receiving as well, Tomlinson. So 31. And that is the NFL record for any season.
Thank you. All right. It just sounds like a preposterously large number.
31 touchdowns.
I mean, it is. It's
a lot for passing. It's good for passing, 31.
Right.
Did Allen get there last year? I don't know. Did he get to 31?
I can tell you in a sec.
28.
Okay. So, no.
No.
Yeah. Wow.
Good enough to win the MVP.
We'd have been. I don't think I would. I don't think I would have guessed that the record was much higher than 20
for one player.
For one player, yeah, in a year, 25 maybe tops.
Was Emmitt Smith's best?
Man, that's insane.
Emmitt Smith, EMMITT. He had 25 in a season. 95. What was second on that team going to be? Darryl Johnston, 2. These teams are all the same.
Right.
Allen and Cook were pretty evenly split, but then it's like
Big
2
drop
total.
off. Right.
Tomlinson was 28. Michael Turner 2. There were 2 others hiding in there, and then this Emmitt Smith season 25, 2 for Johnston, 1 for Sherman Williams, not the paint. That's Sherwin Williams. Mm-hmm. This is Sherman Williams, and 1 for Aikman. What did that look like? Sneak?
He fell over.
Would you bet $50 that was a sneak?
Yes. Yes.
I think I would too.
Maybe 100.
Maybe 100. Save your money. We got to build that parlay at 5. I just wrote it down. Right. 1995, Troy Aikman. It was a 2-yard run. Would that be a sneak? Yeah, it's sneak enough. It's sneak adjacent. 2 yards?
I mean, but anything could happen there. That could be a quarterback draw. That could be scramble.
I guess.
I don't know.
Troy Aikman in his career ran for 10 touchdowns, including playoffs. The longest was 3 yards.
He didn't bring a lot of athleticism to the position.
Not a lot of speed. He was not fleet of foot.
No.
Was he? Troy Aikman. I wrote it down for 5, so now it's allowed. It's official. Building an 8-team division winner parlay live, all caps, live. Don't miss that. I'm ready. I might start studying a little bit. One more to the caller's topic, Roger. BetOnline put up odds today on who will lead the NFL in sacks. And Rousseau is on the board. 50-1. It's kind of like not crazy because it's a team that should be ahead a lot.
Yeah.
But what's his career high?
Not in danger of leading the league. His career high. Teams?
8.
8.
Last year and 2022 also he had 8.
Yeah.
So that's not going to do it. You're going to need like 20.
Yeah, close to that. Yeah. High teens, 20.
High teens.
Yeah.
Yep.
20, I'd feel like you should probably win it.
Would you take 20 sacks this year from Gregory Rousseau?
Yes.
I would take it.
I think that would be a great year.
Thanks for the call, Roger. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog. Timeout. This is WGR. times ahead as, with my help if he wants it, Bulldog builds live on the show an 8-team NFL division winner parlay.
Get out your pen and paper. Time to make you some money.
I don't know your process.
I lose this bet every year. But it's fun to look at until,
You don't even come close. I don't either. I don't either.
No.
But it'd be fun to come close.
Yeah.
And have some fun toward the end of the season with other hedging possibilities.
Yeah.
I don't know your process, but mine would be, all right, what are the 8 favorites going to pay me? What do I win if all the favorites win? I'm never going to bet all the favorites.
Right.
What's my starting point if I bet all 8 favorites?
I've never even put all 8 favorites in. Like,
Okay.
I've never even checked. I just did one pass through this, and I didn't do that. I can do it easily enough. Because that is a good question to ask, right? Because I'm always looking for, we've all got an idea. Like, I think this team is sneaky good. Like, look out for this team, right? But the favorites are the favorites for a reason. They usually win.
But not all of them will win.
Right.
Almost definitely.
Right. So you got to find.
Not all of them will win.
Pick your spots.
And some of them, like Detroit, probably are pretty even. It's not. Maybe San Francisco is favored. Like, they're not going to be huge favorites. The Bills are the biggest, probably. We'll get into the numbers, and here we'll look for your advice as well on the phones, online, however else you can do it. There's not enough time for you to get here. But
yeah, that would be weird, too. Yeah.
There was enough time for me to get to St. Catherine's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for lacrosse tournament. Mm-hmm. So my son's team is good. They got beat in the finals pretty soundly. Really impressive team that they played. And it was one of these games where I want to be tactful about this. Just like it happened, say, with the Sabres. And there's a guy that you can't stand on the Bruins, but if this guy were actually out, if Marchand ever were on the Sabres, we'd love him,
mm-hmm,
right? He'd be our rat. He'd be our guy like that. And it's been a while since the Sabres have had anybody, I think, that you would have hated around the league. Who is that even? Is that going back to Coletta?
I think so.
O'Reilly a little bit? I don't know who it is.
Yeah.
But I don't mean the kids. Like, it was a team of loud coaches and parents. And we were losing, and it was getting to me. So I'm there, like, sort of listening for something I can work with. Hopefully, I would say to myself, just internally, but I'm sort of listening for, like, that's wrong, or that's out of line. I never found it. I'm thinking more of the coaches. There was a slight altercation or arguing with a couple of the parents, but nothing.
But their rage was relatively on point.
I just it was a team where
there was rage at all.
The coaches were like really all over it, working officials, working a tournament official, doing their jobs, like really in a sort of loud, but not passive way. I don't want to say like any of this is bad. I don't really mean it like that. But as the opponent, or even just a fan of the opponents, it was getting to me. Because I'm big on with the youth sports. I mean, I didn't play at a level, needless to say, that I could really help teach you how to hit baseball or anything like that. Like, I can't, I'm not that guy. But I'm always looking for edges. I'm always looking for what could the clock affords edges in kids' sports. Because they got to get you out of there. There's a tournament. There's another team, another game waiting to start, and there's either running clock like in this, or the 2-hour thing in baseball where an inning can't start
right.
after. There are ways to manipulate that, or there can be things like that are not outside the rules. You want a coach, I think, on every one of these teams that's thinking about that stuff. And I'm not a coach, but that's what I'm doing over there in the crowd. And this team just did not give us that opportunity at all.
They were
it was
on
just
point at every turn.
You can talk to the official, and if it's running clock and you've got a lead, there goes the clock, and you're having a conversation, that can be an injury where if it's not, if you're not fine, give it a minute, right? Just sort of ways to manipulate the game that, some of these can be borderline. I'm not saying you should necessarily do all these things, but because some of them are not the best sportsmanship necessarily. So our guy was talking to the official yesterday, and I've seen him do it, and it's fine. He's just trying to get an explanation, something. I don't even know if he's doing it for the clock purposes. Like I'm sort of thinking, maybe not. Our guy's really good, but this guy would not have it. Don't let him talk to you like this. Let's go.
Yeah,
because we were up at the time. Like, let's go. Just no stone unturned over there. So it was really annoying.
That they were so smart.
Because that they were so good. Like, it was just sort of, come on, there's got to be something here. There's got to be something. The kids were so good. Really physical game, and I'm really getting into this lacrosse. Good. That was back in the box format this past weekend. Now it's back on the field in Maryland coming up next.
Box is inside?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Bulldog builds a sure-to-hit 8-team division winner parlay coming up live on the show. What should he do? 803-0550. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Over the weekend, it was confirmed 2 players are heading to arbitration for the Buffalo Sabres. Defensemen Bo Byram and Connor Timmins. Paul Hamilton does have more on this up at our website, WGR550.com. We do not know yet the dates of the arbitration hearings, and one notable note for Byram, because of this move, he cannot be offer sheeted by another team. MLB All-Star rosters were announced over the weekend. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Aaron Judge make the starting lineup for the American League. Guerrero, this is his 5th All-Star selection. Judge, his 7th. While for the National League, Francisco Lindor makes the starting lineup, his 5th All-Star appearance. And then the pitching rotation. That was announced late last week. Max Fried of the Yankees selected as one of the starters, his 3rd All-Star appearance. And next week is the All-Star break for the MLB. Tuesday, the 15th, will be the All-Star game. Tonight, though, the Jays, they take their white-hot 8-game win streak into Chicago. They take on the White Sox just after 7:40. While the Yankees and the Mets, they have off tonight. They'll be back in action tomorrow afternoon. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I don't love junior mints. I just don't hate them. I don't understand why they are treated like second-class candy.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Oh,
there's a
you don't
fantasy
understand why
team
a
name.
candy that is basically toothpaste wrapped up in stale chocolate is treated like a second-class candy. All right, I get it. It's a good, valid question.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Is there a time to change? You know, the 3 teams I've drafted this year, second-class candy is pretty good.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Lucky you. That's all I can really say. Lucky you to be present for this workshop, live workshop. Live workshop.
That's what we're calling this now.
I don't know. Where's football on here?
Just over here perusing parlays.
See, this I brought this up the other day. It's just way down on the right. Cricket. I'm likelier to go to this app and bet on cricket than football. They want to know what state I'm in. I'm in New York. What are the odds I'm looking for cricket versus football? Who do they think I am? Sam Peniotovich? He would bet cricket. How did he do in the hot dogs?
The 17.5 guy didn't cover. I think he finished. I never looked, but I was out somewhere that had it on, but I missed it, and I was told the count was he was more than 23 or 24 behind.
Okay, he did
Chestnut.
not cover.
Chestnut didn't go over his number either, but the cover from whoever the guy was that Sam was talking about, plus 17.5, it did not hit.
Okay.
At least that's the information I was told.
Tough news.
Yeah.
All right, so I've done the thing you won't do.
Oh, I've done that already.
The favorites?
Yes, I did all the favorites.
Do you have the same number? So a $10 wager on the 8 division favorites would win $2,224.69.
Yeah, that's exactly the number. Are we on the same app?
We are. I'm going to
you're
use
using
yours.
my app. Yeah, well, good.
Yeah.
My app.
Why-
like I own FanDuel. That's
why
why
make
I'm
it more
here doing
confusing?
this show. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that did cut. Now, I need to remember exactly what I did. But the first run-through I did of this, I did not pick all favorites.
Here are the favorites.
Okay.
Buffalo, Baltimore, Houston, Kansas City. That's easy enough to remember. The 4 defending division winners is going to be all 8. Philadelphia, Detroit, Tampa, and the Rams. Yeah, that's the same 8. That is not going to happen.
No.
Even in this era
it's
where
not going to happen.
The Bills and Chiefs are just so good. You're not getting 8 favorites.
No.
How many would be the most? 6?
6, even 5.
So you're going to find for us at least 2 underdogs.
Right.
And if you're the guy I think you are, you're going to do better than just underdogs. You're going to find a gem in here.
Right.
So how do you want to attack it? By division?
Yeah, I mean, that's a reasonable enough way to do it. I'm not inclined to do anything different with Buffalo or Baltimore. In other words, they're favorites, and I'm going to bet them. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm not necessarily positive I'm going to put money on this right now. My account's empty as it stands right now. But anyway, I think those favorites I would stay with. Just so I'm working in the order that they're presented on my page here. So AFC East Bills.
All right, so just if I may, New England is the second choice in the AFC East at plus 500.
Yeah.
No?
No.
Okay. So AFC North, Cincinnati is second at plus 240. Pittsburgh is plus 500. Cleveland is plus 3,000. Come on, Cleveland. Let's go. Come on. What a story.
Right.
Do you want this to be money or do you want this to be amazing?
I just don't trust anyone there enough to get Baltimore out of there. And the same for the AFC East. I just, to me, either one of those bets against either the Bills or the Ravens feels like I'm betting on an injury to happen. Like to me, that's the only way to Jackson or Allen. Like that's the only way those teams don't win that division. I think that they're in is if that happens.
Even the Bengals?
And yeah, I think even the Bengals.
Okay.
So and if the Bengals and Steelers were flipped, that might be get my interest.
Cincinnati.
Yeah,
in that case.
Yeah, like if the Bengals were plus 500 as opposed to plus 240, I mean, okay, that's worth the risk. I think I'll, I might.
I've made my first adjustment here, and listen to this. If you replace Baltimore with Pittsburgh, so here before I even tell you, we did this with the Steelers schedule. It's super easy for the first half. So if Rodgers is okay, at the Jets, Seahawks, Patriots, Vikings, Browns, Bengals, Packers, revenge game, Indianapolis at home, Chargers, Bengals, Bears, that's 11 games. They're not all pushovers.
No.
But I feel like a 7-4 kind of, and they haven't played Baltimore yet. They're going to end November without having played the Ravens once. Maybe you get a Pittsburgh season where 7-3, 8-3, they're doing Pittsburgh things. Last year, when we all knew they were terrible, I think they were 10-1. Right?
Right.
So, I mean, weren't they made the quarterback change when they were winning last year, and they ended up 10-7. I want to make sure they were not 10-1. They were 9-3. They were 10-3. All right, correction.
Okay.
They were 10-3.
It's still really
great.
Good. Really good year going.
What were the Bills? So if you move the AFC North winner from Baltimore to Pittsburgh, your 2,200 becomes 3,600.
Right. There's a pretty big,
huge,
pretty big swing there.
All right,
on one difference.
Not there now.
Okay, you're going to stay there. All
Baltimore
right.
doesn't have to win again every year.
Yeah,
that's not the same division as the Bills. Like that's.
No,
they never beat the Steelers hardly by much anyway when they beat them. That changed a little bit late last year, but
all right. Well, I'm going to, and this was the case. And it won't be hard for me to figure it out. I'll just keep pressing buttons until I get there. But the first run through I did at this, where I didn't pick all favorites, my $10 bet was winning me $4,700.
Okay.
One of the things that I had different in that first parlay I did was replacing Houston, the favorite, in the AFC South with my Jacksonville Jaguars. That I'm pretty bullish on the Jaguars. Like, I don't think that that's an insane pick at all to think that they could ascend there. The quarterback's always been talented. Just need to unlock them, whatever. I can make the case. I don't really believe in Houston. Indy and Tennessee are afterthoughts. So it's really Jacksonville and Houston. And so I replace Houston with Jacksonville, and that gets me to leaving Baltimore as is and leaving all the other favorites. It's not as dramatic as your Pittsburgh swing, but it's up to $3,300. No, $3,100.
31.
31.
All right.
31, almost 32.
And if I do the same thing with Pittsburgh and not Baltimore, I'm at 43.
Right.
So the same gap.
Right.
I think it's interesting that Jacksonville is plus 300 and Indianapolis is only plus 310.
Yeah, that is kind of sneaky weird.
I like the idea of an Indianapolis bet more, but if they're the same price,
right?
I think no.
I mean, that's a lot of faith to have in Daniel Jones.
I know. Any is risky.
either the Chargers or the Broncos are really tempting in the AFC West to me. It's sort of the same logic you just use on Baltimore. They're just going to win and win and win and win forever. And again, it feels a little bit like you're predicting an injury or something. But the prices on the Chargers and the Broncos are pretty tasty, plus 320 and plus 330 respectively. So my first run through, I replaced KC with Denver. And that alone, with Jacksonville now installed instead of Houston, but still Baltimore and the Bills. So I'm not even out of the AFC yet. And we're at $3,800 now on the $10 bet.
Okay. Denver plus 330.
Right.
I refuse to do that. I feel like Kansas City at basically even money. I got to stay there.
Yeah.
So
I may still too do that. But I'm going to leave it the way it is for now. Okay. See if I can get what I had, because the next division up is the one where I have the biggest the biggest odds.
Dallas.
I'm all about that idea. Nobody wins that division twice in a row. It hasn't happened in, what is it? It's
2004.
More than 20 years. So
2002.
You can like Washington. There's a lot to like about Washington. I love Jaden Daniels. I think the Cowboys are priced to get my attention. The names. All the principles really are still there. And if Prescott can stay on the field with George Pickens to go with CeeDee Lamb, they could just score a ton. They could score 35 points a game.
Love it.
Team. So I'm into Dallas. I might even do that with something else, like outside of this 8-team thing that never wins, because it's hard to pick all 8 division winners correctly, especially if you're looking for value and not just taking all the favorites, which isn't going to win anyways. So
yes,
Dallas,
you got it.
All right, that is up to $4,500 now. All right, so
that's it.
Yeah, Dallas, Denver, Jacksonville instead of the favorites in those divisions. The rest of it...
Hang on a second, please.
Okay.
You're listening. Live workshop.
Mm-hmm.
Live 8-team NFL division winner parlay workshop.
I'm on to the NFC North now. Go ahead.
Not yet.
Something else. Okay.
I am just going to say I'm not making that move myself yet.
The Dallas move?
Right. And I'm not on Washington really either. So for now, I'm on Philadelphia.
Okay.
Minus 135. But I'm not looking at this the same way as I am the Chiefs. Just to tell you, just to say it. I think the Chiefs will probably get there. I don't think the Chargers are that good.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I think Denver is that good. Denver's defense is good. But really? Denver? So I'm sort of solid at minus 115 Kansas City. Come on. Minus 135 Philadelphia? I don't know. Do you think the point about nobody repeating in that division actually means something? Is there something about those teams where it means something that nobody ever repeats? What would it be?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's been so many years that I feel like I want to just bet on it, even if I don't understand exactly why it keeps happening. I mean, beyond the anecdotal, well, the good team was down and the different team was good, and there you go. I mean, duh. And that's the NFL largely, so maybe it's not that. I don't know how many other divisions. See, I don't know these stats, and I wouldn't even know how to really go find it. How many divisions do you not get repeat champions in? I mean, the Bills are on 5 and counting over here.
The AFC had only repeat champions last year.
Right. So I want to respect it. I and the numbers are telling me there's value betting somebody else.
Philadelphia won the NFC East 2001 through 2004, and no one has repeated since then. Also, the Eagles have never finished third since then.
Wow.
There's a lot of first, a lot of second, and a lot of fourth, but never third. How about that? That might even be more amazing.
Right.
In a division with constant turnover, the Eagles have never finished third since realignment. All right,
trying to find a parlay picking the team's particular order of finish in the NFC East.
Never pick the Eagles to finish third.
Unless the odds are good.
But you will. This year you will. This is the year. They're going to finish third.
Right.
This is the year.
Right.
All right. NFC North. Detroit is the favorite, plus 155. Parity.
I don't. They're pretty close here, right? Green Bay, Minnesota are 260 and 270 respectively. Then a little bit of a gap to Chicago at plus 550. I am really struggling. I know Detroit, right? What's the case to make there? Golf's never been that good, and they lost both coordinators. So that's big. That's the first sort of, in this timeline where the Detroit Lions are a Super Bowl contender, this is their first challenging year. They've been sort of building, same crew, now big departures. I still have a hard time seeing anybody else in that division beating them out.
Okay. I want to bet Minnesota on this one, but I may have found a glitch because even though Detroit is the favorite, moving from Detroit to Minnesota cost me $600.
Really?
Yes.
Let me see what happens. I'm at
why? Sam,
with what I've got built here already, I'm at 4,500 with Detroit in there right now.
Watch what happens
bet.
when you switch to Minnesota.
It won't. It won't even. It's not even sure. Like the bet went away. When you do something that conflicts, but this shouldn't be a conflict. I deleted Detroit. I replaced them with Minnesota, and it says some of my selections can't be combined into a single parlay. That's weird.
Well, here's what happens to me with Detroit: 4,300 from $10. With Green Bay, 42. That doesn't make sense either. With Minnesota, 37. So I'm guessing that means people are betting Minnesota. The parlay's less unusual with Minnesota than Detroit. Can that make sense and have Detroit still be the favorite? I guess. What else would make sense there?
Yeah.
If you go to the Bears, it goes to 4,700. So not that big a jump for me.
See, I only got to 4,500 on the Bears. We're on the same app. This is so weird.
Well, now we have different teams.
Okay. Well, that's right. But this Minnesota thing is bizarre.
Minnesota is hot. So establish the run. Evan Silva moves the market in some of these cases, like prop bets. One on Jamal Williams, been on our show a lot. I think he moves the market. And on a recent podcast of theirs, they're all talking up the Vikings. And Evan's like, that could be the best roster in the league. The changes they've made this year are huge, are great. And if you think McCarthy's going to be good, he's not a rookie either, by the way. He just didn't play. Injured last year. If you think he's going to be good, they'll love Minnesota. I don't know why else this would be the case.
Yeah.
That people are making that bet on the Vikings.
Yeah. But they're making it so much so that the app won't let me bet on them, but it will allow you to. That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know what's going on with that.
That is very strange.
You did something
anyway,
funny.
I'm not doing anything other than toggling between Detroit and Minnesota. And it'll let me bet Green Bay, it'll let me bet Chicago, but when I put Minnesota in instead of Detroit, it says you can't do it. That is bizarre.
That might be the combination.
Yeah.
Like, who do you have? You have
Dallas,
the
Broncos, the Jaguars, then the Ravens, and the Bills.
Maybe they think you're getting a little bit too crazy.
Yeah, maybe.
You're cut off.
All right. Well, I don't want to bet either of those anyway. I was just curious to see what would happen.
You're on Detroit.
I'm on Detroit there. I'm going to stay on Detroit there.
I'm moving to Minnesota, but it's bad money.
Right. Yeah.
That don't want to.
That doesn't sound right. I genuinely do like Atlanta over Tampa in the NFC South. So Tampa's in there now at plus 100. Pivoting to them, the Falcons are plus 240. That gets me to 48.60 on the
your
payout
Falcons.
as opposed to 4,500.
I'm also moving to Atlanta, and I'm at 47.40. So we're really close.
Yep.
We have 3 or 4 differences, but we're almost at the same numbers.
Okay.
All right, I'm on Atlanta also.
All right. I really like, and I like Baker Mayfield. Mayfield has been really good the last couple of years. I saw a clip over the weekend of Greg Cosell just raving about he's so good. He's precise. He puts the ball in great places. It's funny to still think of him as some sort of journeyman here or something, but he's been good. But I like Atlanta. I like Penix a lot. I liked him coming out of the draft. I was thrilled when thrilled. I don't like the Falcons, so I'll back off on thrilled. But I love that they made him a top 10 pick and just did that because they believed in him, and I hope they get paid off. I think they will. I think that it's a nice roster. The defense, they did a lot. 2 top edge guys in the draft. So I'm pretty bullish on them.
Yep.
In the NFC West,
mine went away. you can't leave it alone.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's funny. I opened the page like they usually have them ordered here, but these odds must be moving.
That's right.
The Rams are listed on top like they'd be the favorite, but they are plus 175, and the 49ers are plus 165, which makes them the favorite in that division.
That's right. We all know you're going to Arizona.
I can't do it. It's got to be one of those top 2, and I think I'm probably going to go Rams.
No real change.
No,
I'm on San Francisco.
Yeah, I got to 48. It did change. I swear this is what I just did. Maybe hang on. Yeah, I had the 49ers the first time through, so I'm going to leave the Rams. There's like $100 difference. In the amount. I said it was 4,700 the first time I did it without all the favorites, and now it's 48, but it's because I got the Rams in there, and they're
Bulldog
10 percentage points higher.
Mine is 5 cents different. Literally.
And it's
literally 5 cents.
Minnesota instead of Detroit.
No, well, yes, but I'm moving from the Rams to the 49ers.
Right.
And I win 5 cents less. What if I just don't pick the NFC West? No, I don't want to do that. I win it's 5 cents less. $4,743.54 versus $4,743.59. I mean, that's both showcases right there. If you're within 5 cents,
right?
I don't know. Fun times.
Yep.
I mean, it's fun to look at it's good to know this. I mean, sorry, I'm excited. Not everybody is betting. But if you are, it's good to know that it's not cut and dried, where just the favorites are the least payouts, lowest payouts. For some reason, it isn't like that. So you don't want to be on Minnesota because you lose.
Oh, my God. Would you...
Live workshop in progress.
Would you believe me if I told you that I placed a 5-leg baseball parlay yesterday afternoon and completely forgot about it and just noticed that I won $1,500 on FanDuel last night? I never looked.
For $5?
It was 25.
Oh, okay.
But still.
That's great.
I just didn't even.
Wow.
I just logged. We were doing all this. I wasn't logged in the whole time. And just now I went, I should log in. That way I can save this bet.
You can do that?
Yeah, I was going through it, and it usually gives you, like save for later. So a little flag.
Yeah.
And it wasn't giving me that. I thought, it must be because I'm not logged in. Let me log in. Balance. What? What did I do yesterday? Oh, I did that yesterday. Okay. Thank you, Phillies, Angels, Tigers, Brewers, Rays.
What did the Angels do that was so good?
The Angels
they didn't get blown out?
The Angels covered a 1.5 run spread.
They lost by a run. What a terrible weekend for the Angels. Great.
Wow.
That's good. I love how earlier you said, too, I don't have any money in there.
No, I know,
whoops,
right?
Wait a minute. Yes, I do. Does that ever happen the other way to anybody?
That is insane.
Does that ever happen the other way? I know I got money. Where to go?
I can't believe
Where is it? What did I do? What happened? Right.
Happy birthday to me.
I bought socks with it. I forgot about the socks. Very cool. Well, there are some interesting little fluctuations in there. Who is the best long shot to pick? I think the Steelers thing is live. I don't know. I'm always sort of biased toward Baltimore, I think, but I'm feeling change there. I'm not going to pick against the Bills here.
Mm-hmm.
And it would probably only be New England. But, man, what is that? Think about that. New England's really ready to win the AFC East? No, come on.
No.
Come on.
No.
803-0550. Here for your calls. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
From over the weekend, 2 players are heading to arbitration for the Buffalo Sabres. Defenseman Bo Byram and Connor Timmins. Paul Hamilton does have more on this up at our website, WGR550.com. The arbitration hearings have not been tabled yet for when they will actually take place. And for Byram, an important note, with this move, he can no longer be offer sheeted. And in the MLB All-Star rosters, they were announced over the weekend. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Aaron Judge, they make the starting lineup for the American League. Guerrero, this is his 5th All-Star selection. Judge, his 7th. While for the National League, Francisco Lindor, he makes the starting lineup, his 5th All-Star appearance over his career. And then last week, it was the pitching rotation that was announced. Max Fried of the Yankees was selected as one of the starters, his 3rd All-Star appearance for his career. The All-Star game is next Tuesday the 15th. Tonight, though, the Jays, they take their white-hot 8-game win streak into Chicago. They take on the White Sox just after 7:40. The Yankees and the Mets, they have off tonight, but we'll be back at it tomorrow night. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown and dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, thanks for listening. We haven't talked about the news on Byram yet today. I want to make sure that I only ask this because I'm not 100% sure I'm right. Wasn't it Adams himself last week who mentioned the offer sheet possibility for Byram as in that's money the Sabres are prepared to spend?
Yes.
If he is offer sheeted.
Mm-hmm.
But they, I think it's safe to say, would have known at the time of that comment that they would disqualify him from that possibility. Am I out of line here at all? Like, how could you say that if you knew
you were going to make a move that would prevent him from being eligible for the thing you were saying?
Like he was, will match it.
Right.
I mean, it's almost aggressively sounding, will match it. But he would have known, probably, that it would never come to that unless they changed their mind on arbitration. But when you and I talked about this last week, we said he'll go to arbitration. We didn't have to be right.
I was surprised that he passed himself.
The team chose it.
The team chose it. That was the second window, and the Sabres acted on that. Whereas Connor Timmins, another player of theirs, defenseman, who's an RFA, himself chose arbitration. The end result is the same. You're ineligible for the offer sheet, and that's it. So whether the team or the player chooses it, I have not. I did spend some time sort of spinning this over in my head, like where's the motivation to do it? And I'm going to guess that they didn't like the idea of being stuck with a 7-year contract for Bowen Byram at some outrageous money that a team would offer sheet him. And would be reluctant to, he said they would, so maybe they were stuck in that case, but wouldn't want to do that. I would have been surprised if the player would have gone out, frankly, and sought an offer sheet of that length to be married to the Sabres if indeed, he and his agent believed Kevin Adams when he said he was going to match. So what am I doing? I'm basically renting this asset that I already have on my team until the next trade window opens, which is this year's trade deadline. And if he chooses a 2-year result from the arbitration, which is up to Byram to choose now because of the way this went, then you'd have another trade deadline, another offseason, and another deadline if he chooses 2 years. And I don't know what he will do, but my sense is that they still think they can make a trade for this player and will live with him on their roster and pay him whatever the arbitrator decides until they can find that trade. If it's all the way until next February, then so be it.
And they could still trade him right now.
Right now, sure, yeah.
And if that happens, is this like all set that he still would go to arbitration with that team?
I think that's the way that works, but they can still, the Sabres and so any other team acquiring him with that arbitration hanging out there, I think could still reach a contract he can still sign a new contract right now. Like if he and the Sabres agreed on some massive deal or they trade him to another team, they can still skip arbitration.
That's probably what would happen if he were traded.
Yeah, I would think.
There would be a contract with it.
Somebody would like him enough to want to take the full plunge. Yeah. So I think they're just protecting against a long offer sheet. Okay, fine. I like that for them. I didn't want them to make a long commitment to Byram. I'm all right if he's here. I just think it's not optimal that they haven't moved a player. I think they wanted to move to improve their group up top, the offense, the wingers. They still are. We're into it now. Like we're through the original rush. The best players left and all that. So yes, a trade can still happen. It hasn't yet. I don't know. I got here today, and the St. Louis Blues roster was still open on my browser. I'm like, I guess I can close that up.
Oh, how really? Like that's the work computer, and you were logged in already, and
yeah, I save the stuff that I have open reopens when I log.
Restore.
Yes.
Previous pages.
Yeah.
And the Blues were one of your pages.
The Blues were one of my pages. Yeah.
Or as we say in baseball, Pages. There are two players with the name Pages.
All right.
They're pronounced Pages.
Okay.
So now you know that. I don't know. I just feel like it might have been disingenuous to talk about, we'll pay the money. Like that's how.
Yeah.
The Sabres are probably sick of hearing about how they don't spend the money, but they don't. And so here, this kind of was framed as, bring it on, offer sheet, because we'll match it. And, that has two parts to it. One is we like the player and are willing to pay him, and the other is we're willing to spend. It's sort of both things,
right?
But neither is going to happen.
No,
and they would have known that.
I would expect that at least that they the possibility existed. I guess it's conceivable that they didn't know for sure what they were going to do as far as that goes. But either way, if they were bracing, maybe they thought he was going to choose arbitration. When he didn't, they pivoted to decide to do it themselves. But either way, if they were counting on it, there's no need for the we'll pay the whatever on an offer sheet because he's not going to be eligible for one. So, yeah, I don't know. It's another version. It's this year's version of why we didn't spend to the cap. Is what we're saving it for Peterka and Quinn and all these RFAs. And, well, you traded the best one of those. So, golf clap to you for that. And, no, we have this money parked over here because we want to make sure we can match an offer sheet to Byram. Well, you took a step to guarantee that wasn't going to happen either. And so what's up with the $13 million? It's going to sit there.
That's what I'm saying.
It's going to sit there and, good job, everyone.
Yeah.
They still have they'll spend some of it on this arbitration award unless a trade arises. So he might get $6 million in arbitration, right?
I bet he does.
So that's half of it. And then Timmins is still due something. Levi is due something, whether that's on the AHL or NHL books, I don't know, but still. So they'll spend a good chunk of that money, maybe close to $8 or $10 million of it, frankly. So
I think
it's not like it'll all be parked.
That it's included in this, I guess, problem I'm having with what was said last week. But Adams even saying we'll match any offer sheet. Why would you even say that? Why would you show your cards like that, right? I think it just comes from this never-ending pursuit to convince everybody that they'll do whatever they can, and it's guys who want to be here, all of this, don't come and try to prey on the Sabres. They're in such a defensive posture. This is how it comes out publicly, which you could be in this posture and not, if you just said it right, it would not come out publicly. Mm-hmm. But they can't, Adams, it's really a Adams point, not a Sabres point. Like, just, why would you ever want to just basically, you're trapped then. Now, we're not getting an offer sheet, which I think he probably knew was not going to happen besides. But without that, I've said this the other day, why would you have to say, we'll match the offer sheet? What if a team wants to test you? And they like Byram this much. And, they've got an opening for him. And We don't know. It's Buffalo. That could go either way. Like, we don't know what they're going to do. But he goes on, on the air, once it was played back, he goes on the air with, we're going to match it. And I don't know. Why would you do that? Why would you tell everybody what your cards are? It's because, I know the answer. It's because they're just constantly spinning how, they just can't come take our guys.
They needed 24 hours to brag about how they were going to keep their guy.
And it's been 20 years of this, if not 50. Which is like, we're back in the Darcy, Vanek, Briere, Drury aftermath.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, how long did it take the Sabres to match on Vanek? 5 seconds? And they were so excited about that. Like, you can't come take our 7 years, $50 million. You can't come just do that.
I remember Darcy saying, I'm almost sure this was publicly. I don't think I had 3 off-the-record conversations with him the whole time he was the GM, and he was the GM a long time. I remember him saying, I vehemently was yelling at Edmonton, don't do it. We're just going to match. You're just driving up. He was mad from the league standpoint. Like you're artificially inflating salaries by doing this. This is a player we are not prepared to let leave, and now we got to pay him $7 million. And you did it. Basically, he was scolding the Edmonton Oilers for doing it. That's how I remember Darcy about that.
I know what I would say if I were Edmonton.
Thanks.
No, just like get out of here.
Right.
This is competition. Yeah, Darcy was hot about that.
Yeah.
He wasn't like pounding the table in Philadelphia hot, but he was hot. Or standing on what was he doing with D'Amico in the when the puck went through the side of the net?
Pointing aggressively at the TV furious. at the corner of the net where the puck went through, and D'Amico's looking at it, and Darcy's pointing at the TV in a suite or wherever they were, and
How could you not catch that?
Right.
Isn't that your job? He had a point.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I don't know with the Sabres. I mean, come on. Why bring up the topic of the offer sheet? We still have to talk about arbitration. There's still a few things that have to play out here. No, it's if there's an offer sheet, which he probably knew there wouldn't be, we will match it, which he didn't need to say. All in the same effort to, what's the best way to put this point I'm trying to make? We're going to spend, we are building something, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was an opportunity for them and him on their behalf, the organization's behalf, to sound like money's not a factor. Like, you want to give him 7 years and $12 million a year? We're going to match it. That's ostensibly what you're saying. Not that I think anybody was waiting out there to sign him to that contract, but you're telling the world, like, we'll do whatever it takes.
You're trying to send the bigger message, the overall message to your fans, to the league. Which, if you're well run, you would not want to do that, and you wouldn't be anything but forthcoming about what you feel about the player. I mean, not forthcoming. They're not going to criticize him.
No,
but just I don't need to tell you that. How do they get in so much of these jackpots when there are so few press conferences? It's not like there's a weekly segment here.
No, it's right.
There's very few of these, and somehow
he steps in something.
Somehow.
Yeah.
Mike Schopp and the Bulldog back after this timeout here on WGR. parlay that you hit. What are you doing betting baseball at 2:42 in the afternoon? Like that Toronto game was at maybe 1 o'clock, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
In progress.
I don't think I have knowingly put a bet in, parlay or otherwise, on the team that's getting runs. So I'm thinking I was thumbs, didn't see
wow.
The whole thing's a mistake.
You didn't even mean to do it.
The whole thing's a mistake.
I mean, they might have been.
The whole thing's a mistake.
I watched a few innings of the Toronto game between lacrosse games. And the Blue Jays right now, I mean, there's always a team that serves as this example, or a lesson in how fickle baseball is. Zach, you might have been watching. You're an Angels fan.
I was there, yeah.
Oh, you were at the game?
Yep, I went to the game yesterday.
Awesome.
Okay. Top of the third, 1-0 LA. First and second, one out. Second or third. First and second, one out. Hard hit ball right to Bichette at short. Easy double play. Drops it. Instead of inning over, it's bases loaded, one out. So here's the Angels. Here's their chance. Rengifo is up next, I think. And he hits a comebacker, 1-2-3. Gossman to Kirk to Guerrero. I mean, they get the gift of the double play, booted.
Right.
And next guy hits into one anyway, home to first. It's just like the easy
right
inning over. So it's still 1-0. Toronto comes to bat. Bichette hits one to the moon. I don't know where you were sitting, but he hits one.
It was really good.
He hits one to the moon. 1-1. 2 outs later, I think, Straw is up. Don't you like the name Straw?
Sure.
There used to be Strawberry.
Yeah, I remember him.
We called him Straw.
Sure.
Or the Straw Man. This is Miles Straw. So he hits one perfectly placed between the third base line and the third baseman's glove down the line for a double. 2 feet to the left, foul. 2 feet to the right, easy out. Perfectly placed down the line for a double. And then Loper Fido comes up next. Hits one perfectly placed between the second baseman and the first baseman in the hole for an RBI single. 2-1. None of that really has to happen.
No.
You know, if the Angels double play Rengifo, if he hits the ball just like worse, a few feet to the pitcher's left or right, there's no double play there. He's got to hustle to get the out at first on that play.
Right.
Everybody's running on contact, so he's not going to have a play there if the ball is closer to either line. But no, it's right at him. Just so random. I read that Bronx Zoo about the 78 Yankees.
Right.
And now I'm reading Ball 4, the famous Jim Bouton book. And they both take you back to an era of baseball where mostly we had no, and Moneyball even does this, which is more recent. We used to have just no comprehension of how silly random baseball can be. And like that sequence in Toronto yesterday is perfectly it. Really, it should have just been, well, it didn't have to be, but easily could have been the other way. Toronto makes the error. And yet, whatever. The next one's a double play anyway. Then the homer. Homer's not random.
Yep.
But still, so much of that was. And they win again. They're winning these close extra innings on Saturday.
Friday and Saturday.
Yeah. It definitely is random that I bet the Angels plus 1.5. I can tell you that. I did not.
I would have advised really hard against that.
I have no recollection of I know what time the bet was placed. Home. We went out for lunch. Home. Wife's upstairs. It's nap time. Where's the golf? Let me see what's going on. Oh, I got some bonus bets. I go, okay, whatever. Do whatever I'm doing. And I had to be sloppy. It's the happiest accident ever. I cannot imagine a scenario where I was. I'm very much more likely to bet the Jays there minus 1.5 because it was probably plus 120 or something.
I love it.
And I didn't. When I first looked at it, I thought, all these teams covered 1.5. Like, no, actually the Angels were getting a 1.5. What? Who hacked into my FanDuel app? That is not me. I'm surprised it didn't get flagged by FanDuel. Are you sure you meant to do this? Because you
never bet the Angels.
I never bet somebody getting a 1.5. I just never do it.
Because the price isn't good enough.
Right, it's terrible.
I have one story, like it wasn't for as much money, but I remember one time, and it's probably happened the other way. where you thought you had a win, but you did something wrong and you didn't.
Right.
But I had one of those in the year the Cavs beat Golden State in the finals in Game 7, LeBron and Kyrie Irving. Because I had a bet through a friend. This is using your app. And I had a bet through a friend on the Warriors to win that series, like a big bet. And Cleveland won. And I was like, it's one of the reasons why I didn't want Cleveland to win. Everybody did. Everybody wanted Cleveland to win, but I didn't. So Warriors lose, Game 7 at home, and I got paid. And he's like, oh, I thought you wanted Cleveland. And it paid better because they were a dog.
Oh, that's amazing. So he put the bet in wrong for you?
Yes.
Holy cow. Imagine how you would have felt if Golden State had won. Or he would have felt if Golden State had won. But it turned out pretty well, yeah.
We could have had a situation.
Right. Right. That would have been awkward.
At least now there's some regulation here.
Right.
In the modern times. 803-0550, James Cook ranked as the 89th best NFL player going into 2025. We'll talk about Cook and what's coming here with the Bills a little more than 2 weeks away from camp. Love to hear from you. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
The Buffalo Sabres, defensemen Bowen Byram and Connor Timmins. Paul Hamilton does have more on this up at our website, WGR550.com. Training camp coming up later this month for the Bills, July 23rd over at St. John Fisher. Today, though, was a very nice day for Bills running back James Cook as the NFL Top 100 list for 2024 continues to roll out over the next few days, and Cook gets slotted in at number 89 overall, his first appearance on this list for his career. NBA All-Star rosters were announced over the weekend. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Aaron Judge made the starting lineup for the American League. Guerrero, this is his 5th All-Star selection. Judge, his 7th. While for the National League, Francisco Lindor makes the starting lineup, his 5th All-Star selection. And then the pitching rotation, that was announced last week. Max Fried of the Yankees was selected as one of the starters, his 3rd All-Star appearance. Next week will be the All-Star break. The game will actually be on Tuesday the 15th. Tonight, though, the Jays take their white-hot 8-game win streak into Chicago, take on the White Sox just after 7:40. The Yankees and the Mets, they have off tonight, but they'll be back in action tomorrow. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I don't think Michael's ever done drugs.
It's Mike Schopp.
I don't know if anyone's ever offered him any.
Let's go over some of the symptoms of marijuana use, shall we? You tell me who this sounds like.
It's the Bulldog.
Slow moving, inattentive, dull, constantly snacking. Shows a lack of motivation.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog on WGR Sports Radio 550.
Welcome back. We were talking earlier about James Cook and his excellent 2024 season. 16 rushing touchdowns and 2 receiving. Josh Allen had 12 rushing touchdowns and 1 receiving on no catches. Try that. Last year. That's the Amari Cooper lateral play.
Also credited with a touchdown thrown, I think, on that play.
Yeah, probably.
I think statistically that's how that broke down.
Okay. That's how you compile
that's a fantasy
numbers.
Dream right there.
Start throwing the ball to yourself.
Right.
So 28 rushing touchdowns between 2 players. And we're just having a conversation about that. Like, could that be a record? No, but it's close. Detroit last year had Gibbs and Montgomery, total 28 rushing touchdowns. It might have, I think it was even the same 16-12. Gibbs and Montgomery, like Cook and Allen.
Okay.
Last year, Hurts and Barkley for Philadelphia totaled 27 rushing touchdowns. Might have been 14-13 on that one. So Sneaky Joe went hunting.
Okay.
On his own. And he found 2006.
Well, he does work here, though. It's not like this is totally recreational behavior for Joe. He may use this himself.
Well, that's right, but he loves it.
Yes, that's right.
He loves stats like I do. So he found that the 2006 Chargers had LaDainian Tomlinson run for 28 by himself. And
I still can't believe that.
I know, right? 16 games. And Michael Turner had 2. So you've got a tandem that ran for 30. And he has updated me again here to say 14 teams ever have had 30 rushing touchdowns in a season, the whole team. The Bills got to 30 last year. Just Cook and Allen combined were 28. And he says it looks like no other team got to 30 with just 2 guys like the Chargers did. However, the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets, and that is Frankfurt with a D, Yellow Jackets, in a season had 34 rushing touchdowns, but they don't tell you who had them. It's too long ago. So we don't know. So we're back here in 1930. No, we don't know who had the touchdowns that year for Frankfurt.
Somewhere in Illinois or something. Where's Frank?
Actually, I don't know.
Frankfurt.
I don't know where that means. That could be Illinois, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Frankfurt NFL team.
Nope. Does not compute.
Philadelphia.
Okay.
They were in the NFL for 8 seasons, 1924 through 1931. They won a title in 1926, finishing first out of 22 teams that year, apparently, in their division. Is that the whole league? And they were first in yards every year, offense and defense. Try that, Bills. They were first in the league in yards and yards allowed every year of their existence. That's pretty good.
If Frankfurt is nearby enough Philadelphia, why weren't they just called? Was there a Philadelphia team in the league as well? Maybe, perhaps, and they were a second team in the market.
Let's find out.
I wonder.
I don't know. I don't see Philadelphia.
Okay.
I do see Buffalo. You will not know the name of this team. I didn't. 1926 NFL.
What a dare.
The Buffalo Rangers.
Come on.
I'm looking at it.
Wow. We're sure it's Buffalo, New York?
Not positive.
Right. Could be Buffalo somewhere else.
Probably is us.
Probably is us.
That team went 4-4-2, and every game but 2 of theirs out of 10 was a shutout.
Wow.
Their last game in 1926 ended 0-0 at Pottsville, the Pottsville Maroons. Maroons was a popular team name in those years. For the color of the uniform.
Sure.
The Maroons. Montreal
Maroons, yeah.
Pottsville Maroons. They lost their final home game, the 1926 Buffalo Rangers, 2-0 to the Kansas City Cowboys. You know, Kansas City has been a thorn in our side.
2-0.
For a century, almost literally. 2-0. They lost to these scores: 7-0, 3-0, 0-0, 2-0 games. All these games are low scoring except Frankfurt, who beat them 30-0.
Were these games played on like dirt roads? Like where were we playing home games in Buffalo in 1926?
I will find out.
I'm dying to know.
But we got our butts kicked by Frankfurt. Frankfurt, 30-0.
Damn Frankfurt.
And they spread it around that day.
Always hated them.
You did. Yes.
Since I first heard the name.
Today.
Yes. 8 minutes ago.
The Buffalo Rangers played at Bison Stadium.
Okay.
Michigan and Ferry.
Okay. All right. That's Offerman, I think, right? Isn't that where Offerman Stadium ended up being? I think. I think that's right. If it's not, it's very, very close. All right. Cool.
Buffalo Rangers.
Who knew? Not me.
Not me.
Frankfurt.
This isn't really talking about James Cook, like I said we'd be doing here.
You did?
It's really, I did. Yeah, it's really not doing much of that.
Yeah.
But we are 2 weeks and 2 days away.
Right.
From
23rd
camp.
is first practice, right?
And we don't really know very much, just like we didn't before minicamp. And then he walked in for minicamp to avoid getting fined. And, the situation, as far as we know, is the same. He's got a contract for this season. He's on this NFL top 100 list. Okay, fine. And maybe that helps him. I don't know. But
I kind of doubt it.
Maybe it's a little late.
All right, whatever. Yep. Well, I feel like my expectation from how he sounded when he was here, and yes, he did, we're not just asserting that we think he came because he likes money. He told you flat out, I'm here because I like my money. He just didn't want to get fined. It would have been, I think, $100,000 all told for the 3 days. He said it escalates each day. And so he wanted to avoid that, so he showed up, but he also participated to whatever extent you need to participate in order to be classified as having participated. He did that. And when asked about what training camp, does this mean you'll be here for training camp? He at one point it sounded like, yeah, everything's fine. I'll be here and I'll be participating. And then I think he left the door open to still being here, but not participating. The kids call that a hold in now. It's become a thing. So guys can avoid getting fined for missing mandatory training camp or minicamp practices and just not take part. So they're holding out, but they're not really out because they're here. So they're getting credit for being here, but they're just not participating. And I guess that still is possible. The fact that he, I think, sort of cracked that door open when asked to clarify what his stance was. I mean, it might have just been him realizing that he had been too definitive and wanted to create some ambiguity about what the summer might be, or it just might have been honest, like, yeah, we'll see. Maybe he's hopeful that his showing up for mandatory minicamp last month would lead to a jump start in negotiations, and maybe that has happened or will happen, and we just don't know it yet. Or nothing's going to happen, and that will further, at least annoy him enough that he could take the step. I'd be very surprised if after not wanting to get fined $100,000 for missing mandatory minicamp, in total, the 3 days would have cost him that, if he missed any of training camp and got fined for that. But it could happen. I think it's the worst case scenario that I'm thinking about right now is he shows up, but he's holding in because he thought something was going to happen after he was, a good team dude and showed up and everything in the spring. But either way, I think it will end with him in the lineup when they play opening night against the Ravens. And I'm not at all really – I wouldn't bet on him getting a contract either myself. It could happen. The Bills have not had any I's lacking dots or T's crossing or not being crossed really through Bean and McDermott's tenure here. So they're usually pretty buttoned up, and maybe they'd like to do that, but I'm just not sure they're going to get to a place where Cook is going to feel like, I want to sign for that. So I think he bets on himself and goes to the open market, and I'm 100% fine with that.
We're talking through this earlier using projections for this year from Mike Clay of ESPN, who put him on over 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns just rushing. Total yards from scrimmage, 1,500 plus and 14 scores. And, that's massive again. I mean, that's better than last year yardage-wise, more touches, according to Mike, and fewer touchdowns, but still double digits easily. And I thought, in your scenario, if he has that season, I don't even know if it helps him that much in unrestricted free agency. Year older, that's going to happen anyway. But how does his value change if he has, even last year again? I mean, I don't know if he's really, if he should be considered a touchdown machine or anything. He was the opposite of that until last year. I mean, he wasn't in that role as much, but, he wasn't a goal line back or anything like that, and then he shows up with 16 rushing touchdowns. So how highly coveted is he as a free agent in that scenario? I mean, the Bills don't tag him in that scenario. He just walks.
They could tag him.
They could, but if they don't, is he worth more than he is now?
I think so. He's still young enough, and he's done the thing 2 years in a row. And so you're looking at something that I think, I don't know, that your feeling is, well, it's more sustainable. He did it a second time, and 12 is not 16, and neither number, they add up to 28, like LaDainian Tomlinson back in 2006. It's close enough. We've been both, I think, in agreement that there's regression coming there to the point where, I think earlier when we would talk about this in May and June, I probably said I would take 8 right now. I'd sign up for 8 touchdowns rushing. I know that's half of what he had last year, but I think that would be good. 12 is sort of right in the middle of that, really right in the middle of that, that guess, half.
It's not the same number literally, I'm aware, but it's the same to me as I almost knocked my water off. It's the same.
That's how I'm treating it. Yeah, it feels like a monster year. And so I think there's always the age curve, like another year worth of wear and tear. But I still think if he was angling for, let's just use ballpark figures here, 3 years, $45 million, $15 million a year, I think at his age he'll be 27 after this season.
He'll be 27 into next season.
I think a 3-year deal, 3 for 40. I think that deal is more out there after a second year like that. But I don't think a 5-year deal is. And I don't think the money gets much past the 15 mark. But I think with everything going up, I can see some team out there going, that's a great idea for us.
That's the only way I would see it. But what's the difference? Like, I won't be able to know. If he gets a $15 million per year contract in free agency, I can just say, well, that's only because the cap went up. But so what? I mean, I won't really know whether that would have happened anyway or not. I just don't ever see his value being considered on that level. Doesn't play half the snaps. Just not. What does a team want for that? And this is the Bills, too. For a team to make that caliber of an investment in a running back, they do not want him on the field for 44% of the plays. And that's Cook, literally, last year, I think 44%. They have Johnson here for third down. You want to sign Barkley or Henry like the Eagles and Ravens did last year, he doesn't come off. Well, it's not exactly true of Henry. But you're getting such insane production from him anyway that you don't need quite the same. It's not quite as important.
Yeah, but if he's
not going to catch the ball.
But if he's on your team instead of Cook, he's probably on the sideline like Cook was on the sideline with the game on the line against the Chiefs in the AFC title game. Like that's a throwing situation, pass blocking, pass receiving for the running back, and Henry is usually on the sideline for that. Usually, I think in that particular scenario, it would have been the same. He plays more than Cook does, but I think that's a scenario where I'd expect somebody else to be out there.
Was he on the sideline, Henry, for that last drive?
Against the Bills.
Yeah. I mean, not every play. It wasn't a hurry up so much. It was late.
Yeah.
But the Ravens were not, I don't remember it as well as I maybe should. Like, they used Justice Hill on third down, and I don't know, maybe, well, here's the play-by-play. I don't see the name Derrick Henry. It's late enough. It's so parallel to the Chiefs game the next week. Don't the Bills get the ball with like 3.5 minutes, something like that? The Ravens get the ball 3.5 minutes after a Bass 21-yard field goal. Ooh. 24-19 Bills. All right, this is fun. And some of you are going to remember every bit of this already. The Bills have a 5-point lead against Baltimore with 4.5 minutes to go, and they have first and goal at the 10. Win probability's up there. Mm-hmm. Field goal at worst. Man, if they could have lost this game. Cook for 3. Ravens are going to use their first 2 timeouts. Timeout Baltimore. Allen for 5. Third and goal from the 2. Timeout Baltimore. Allen stuffed. Timeout Bills. They let the clock run down all the way. Mm-hmm. Call the timeout. 4th and goal from the 2. Field goal. Worst
thing that's happening to me is I'm getting tied. If you do everything right, which we got really close to seeing happen.
Ravens start at their 12 after a kickoff return penalty. Jackson for likely incomplete. 2nd and 10 from the 12. Jackson for 8. 3rd and 2 from the 20. Justice Hill for 3 out of pass. 1st and 10 of the 23. Jackson for Bateman for 3. Tylan Wallace for 27. Fumbles out of bounds. Hill for 4. Andrews for 19. Jackson to likely for the touchdown. 24 yards with 1:44 to play. They never got into like deep sort of scramble mode here.
Right.
It was 2 plays after the 2-minute warning. It's the touchdown. And then the incomplete pass to Andrews, the drop. The Ravens have 1 timeout left. Onside kick fails. Ty Johnson busts a run for 17. That's it.
Yep.
Well, I did not see the name Derrick Henry.
Right, and if Justice Hill caught a pass there, then he's on the field, and that you'd presume means that Henry is not.
Right.
At least on that play. He could have been out there as a decoy for something. I don't know. But anyway.
Henry played 59% of the snaps in that game. Sorry. And Cook 52.
Okay. The point holds. Like, in that way, 2-minute drill, end of game, your best guy, your best running back, your starter, right, is likely not on the field for both teams, even if it's fancy Derrick Henry.
Henry, 35 snaps. Hill, 24 for 59. That's exactly the number of snaps they played. So it might have been that one or the other was on the field for every play.
Yeah.
Baltimore. I don't ever see them two running backs. If Lamar Jackson, like how many running backs do you need? One's enough. Kind of the same here. The Bills will use that fullback, at times, but yeah, that was quite a game.
I agree. It was. What's fun, interesting anyway, going through the exercise is of looking at that final drive. There's a minute 40 left. Like Andrews catches that ball. It's not like, overtime.
Right.
No, it's all right. Thank you for coming. We're back on the field now, and let's go.
You would have loved the Bills' chances to win from there.
Sure.
144, kick a touchback at their 30-yard line.
Right.
Field goal wins it.
Right. Yeah, you're in. I'll stop short of saying great shape, but you're in pretty good shape. I'd be feeling like, great, thanks for leaving me so much time, and I had forgotten that over the months that have passed.
Yeah, it seemed later. You would have guessed later.
Yeah, it felt like overtime.
Ravens were 1-point favorite with a total of 51. 27-25 Bills. How'd they do on that one? Pretty good?
I guess so, right.
Pretty close on that one? Yeah. Well, that is week one. I want to say, of course, maybe you didn't know, but the Bills will host Baltimore in a rematch of this game Sunday night, week one. After having done that 8-way division winner parlay earlier today, what does tomorrow hold? I mean, I guess other parlays are, maybe we'll do basketball. Next year's division winners. Or something else. College conferences. How many divisions are there anymore?
Oh, my gosh.
4?
It hurts my brain to think about looking at that that sheet with all those, what, who's where, what?
What would that be on, like, ESPN or something? What sheet?
No, I just mean, like, yeah, let's look at, all the conferences and to see who's where would hurt my brain, I think.
So ready for week one.
That's all I meant. Yeah.
College has week 0. I mean, that's even more exciting. Baltimore, Jeremy Kahn from 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore is our go-to guest when it comes to the Ravens. We talked to him today about all the similarities between Buffalo and Baltimore, what's likely to be different about the Ravens next year, and some other stuff. Stay tuned for that. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time. Oh, sing your high line on the to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. Roller coaster. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life. And now it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster.
I start, once in a while, I'll have like downtime, believe it or not.